Because a horizontal doesn't have to be parallel with another horizontal.
You say it doesn't have to be.
I wouldn't think so.
So, do you think you could get a proof that horizontals weren't parallel or aren't parallel? Because, like I say, I definitely got a proof that they are parallel.
Well, what would
100%
be
sure.
horizontal. It doesn't distinguish between level. You can have a horizontal line that's from the floor to the ceiling. It doesn't have to be a level. It doesn't have to be. See what I'm saying? Horizontal to what perspective? I guess you would say.
A horizontal from the floor to the ceiling.
So if I'm putting, I guess you would say if I was doing a slope and I was wanted to use a ruler or a long stick to put on it, that ruler is going to be. I can show horizontal to the slope, right? So a hill, if I put a ruler matching 1 foot from the bottom up and 1 foot from the top up, that ruler therefore is horizontal to the slope
Um, yeah. What do you mean horizontal to the slope?
or parallel. It would be the same thing. A horizontal line doesn't have to be a level line because then what are you referencing your level to still, right?
Well, like you know me, Sean, right? I say level is horizontal. So when you're saying it
Okay.
isn't,
But
what?
would you say that horizontal is level?
Yeah.
But in the
Absolutely.
but in this example I just gave, it would be the same thing, right? It would be a slope, and then you can have a ruler that's horizontal to that
Horizontal
slope.
can't be sloped, no, because it's got to be
Well,
an even. Yeah.
horizontal would be referent if you're doing like parallel and horizontal would be in reference to whatever you're measuring, or
Perpendicular to vertical, horizontal.
which is that's level, not horizontal. So
No, that is
it's got the same
horizontal.
definition.
Yeah, perpendicular to vertical,
But
horizontal.
yeah, when you say perpendicular to horizontal,
Perpendicular to
that is
vertical.
level. That what you just said. That is level. But if, like I said, if you have a slope and I have a rule that's just as long as that slope, and I have it 1 foot off the slope at the bottom and 1 foot off the slope at the top, it's horizontal to that slope.
No, that would be a slope line.
I got your numbers, they're right here. It's just as easy as 1, 2, 3. You have to open your mind. Imagination is all you need. Don't take advice from fools, 'cause everything that they say is in vain. Never take advice from fools. We all know what they do is in vain.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. My bad. My phone went dead. I'm back home now. What's up, Buster? How you doing, sir?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
we're trying to
back
work
what we were
out.
saying before,
Yeah, go on.
anyone's proof can be their proof, but if it can be shown to not to be proof, then it's not even their proof. It doesn't proof is I don't think a proof is a set guide. Only real thing about it is if it can be verified or not.
Yeah, well, see, that's where it's a little bit weird, right? Because a proof is the truth, right? It is.
It's it,
It's definitive,
I
right?
would
That
say
is it.
I would say a verified proof or a verified truth would be a proof, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be verified, right? So,
Yeah,
which
and if
means it can't be a personal proof.
well,
It
it can,
has to be able to be, well, once
and
you
because
gain
even a
it, it
personal proof
is your
is
personal proof. But then
yes.
if you can then pass it on, right? Because you've gained it from somebody else, right? It's a passing on sort of thing. But you can't say I saw a ghost.
Well,
Right? I have proof that, and then you say, well, how?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, well, I did.
Well, I guess that would be the difference between a proof and an empirical proof, right? Empirical proof would be put to the test over and over and over again. And if it can't be shown to be not true, then it's an empirical proof.
Well, I see. I wouldn't. I'd just leave the word proof alone, right? It's either is a proof or it is not a proof. It's one of those binary things.
Yeah, I think regardless, it still is. Yeah, it proof, empirical proof. It doesn't matter what it is. If it can be shown to be not true, then it's no longer even a personal
Well,
proof.
it wasn't a proof in the first place if it can
Yeah,
be falsified, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But what is he? I don't know what he's trying to. What he's exactly is it have to be about like flat Earth and stuff, or just a proof at all?
Well, yeah. He wants a one globe proof, but I mean, that's what Dave Weiss wants. That's what started the conversation off, right? That Wally's coming over and telling us that he has that. What Dave Weiss should be handing over the 3 Bitcoin, and we say,
his proof?
well, we've had a look at it. It's a fucking joke. But, like it's not up for me to say what's up with it. It's Dave Weiss, right? And then Dave Weiss has said, will you go to Nathan Oakley's? If he can't debunk it, then you've got to take it to Nathan's and present it to Nathan and the panel over there.
Well, I think right there, and the whole 3 Bitcoin thing is then just a big joke because I'm sorry, it's impossible over there. That place is crazy.
Well, that's another
what we were
thing
talking
that we
about.
have, right?
I think you could tell him his name is Nathan Oakley and he'll debunk it.
Well, that's what we were saying. It was like, because Wally seems like a kind of a laid back guy. He's got his proof. He's pretty confident about it, but he doesn't seem that competitive. I'm like, there's no way. If I was him with his kind of laid back, there's no way I'd go over there. No way.
I will say that Nathan Oakley has proven that he can get around anything. So I think it'd be impossible for anyone to go over there and do that. It's just the way he set up his stream, I guess. I haven't heard it in forever, so it may have changed. I doubt it, but yeah, I think if Dave Weiss is doing that, then it's kind of voids his whole bet, the whole 3 Bitcoin thing, because isn't it supposed to be something that to prove to him, not Nathan Oakley?
Exactly. That's why we say, really, we've got to have a word with Dave Weiss, right? Because, hey, I wouldn't mind that Bitcoin, and if we can get Dave Weiss to be loose enough with what he wants, then I'll try and squeeze one through. You know what I mean?
Wait. So hang on, let me get this straight. If the guide to this 3 Bitcoin by Dave Weiss is doable to you, you're going to give him a globe proof.
If if his requirements for a globe proof are good enough, I'll go for the 3 Bitcoin. If not, right? Well, I mean, when let's say this, right? Wally, in his proof for Dave Weiss, says he's proved that horizontals aren't parallel. Right? So
No, yeah.
Could I ask this one to Sean? You got a lot of experience with equipment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you think you could do a lot with like horizontals and verticals with your knowledge?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like the precise equipment, you can measure this and that. Would you say you could prove horizontals aren't parallel with a telescope?
With a telescope?
Just an astronomical telescope.
2.
I think it would take a lot more than that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So what he said, his proof involves horizontals not being parallel. And then because of that, he can measure the radius of the Earth. Right? So therefore, to him, that's a globe proof. Now, there's a massive error in it. But I also say that we have a proof that horizontals are parallel.
Well, I guess it would depend on what they're horizontal to, because a horizontal doesn't have to be parallel with another horizontal.
You say it doesn't have to be.
I wouldn't think so.
So, do you think you could get a proof that horizontals weren't parallel or aren't parallel? Because, like I say, I definitely got a proof that they are parallel. 100% sure.
Well, horizontal. It doesn't distinguish between level. You can have a horizontal line that's from the floor to the ceiling. It doesn't have to be a level. It doesn't have to be. See what I'm saying? Horizontal to what perspective? I guess you would say.
A horizontal from the floor to the ceiling.
So if I'm putting, I guess you would say, if I was doing a slope and wanted to use a ruler or a long stick to put on it, that ruler is going to be. I can show horizontal to the slope, right? So a hill. If I put a ruler matching 1 foot from the bottom up and 1 foot from the top up, that ruler therefore is horizontal to the slope.
What do you mean horizontal to the slope?
Or parallel. It would be the same thing. A horizontal line doesn't have to be a level line, because then what are you referencing your level to still, right?
Well, like you know me, Sean, right? I say level is horizontal. So when you're saying it isn't,
okay.
what?
But would you say that horizontal is level?
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
in this example I just gave, it would be the same thing, right? It would be a slope, and then you can have a ruler that's horizontal to that
Horizontal
slope.
can't be sloped, no, because it's got to be
Well,
an even. Yeah.
horizontal would be reference if you're doing like parallel and horizontal. It'd be in reference to whatever you're measuring.
Perpendicular to vertical, horizontal.
That's level, not horizontal. So
No, that is
it's not the same
horizontal.
definition.
Yeah, perpendicular to vertical, horizontal.
But yeah, when you say perpendicular to horizontal,
Perpendicular to
that is level.
vertical.
That what you just said. That is level. But like I said, if you have a slope and I have a ruler that's just as long as that slope, and I have it 1 foot off the slope at the bottom and 1 foot off the slope at the top, it's horizontal to that slope.
No, that would be a sloped line.
Say again, one more time.
You would be able to
parallel
measure
to the
the slope
Yeah,
by
horizontal.
saying rise over run.
But who's to say that? Why? See, that's I guess that's where the confusion would be. I guess because when you're saying horizontal and level, you're only talking about one situation of it being perpendicular.
But wait a minute. If you set a slope and you had an equally long line, ruler, whatever, and it was the same distance off the slope at either end, that's just parallel.
Yeah. But what would be okay? So then, what's the difference from not being or horizontal lines having to be parallel? If you can be parallel with something else, it can be horizontal. The horizontal doesn't have to be always level to perpendicular to level, right? Damn, hang on, mix up with my words again. If you have a level, your horizontal can be x-axis. I don't know which one's x-axis, y-axis.
X
I
and
see what
Y
you're.
would be
I
the
see.
horizontal plane.
I see what you're saying.
Z would be
But
the
when
vertical.
when I hear you say it, it's like you're saying for only one situation. Like there's only one. I would say that you're if you have a spirit level on the ground, a spirit level 10 feet up, spirit level 20 feet up, those are all perpendicular and horizontal to each other.
They're all parallel.
Yeah, horizontal with each other, right?
They're all
Same
parallel.
thing.
They're all horizontal, so therefore
Yeah.
they all are parallel. Yes.
That's
Which
what
is
you're
what I
saying,
said at
but
the
I
beginning.
think
All horizontals are parallel. That's what I say. And that's why we were saying when Wally says they're not parallel, then like we do have differing options, right? So if Dave Weiss, right, is going to take on Wally's argument of the proof that Wally has, then surely he should be able to take on our proof as well, right? So this is where I say when we do a proof for proof, then we can do our proof from first principles, i.e. nothing, and build up from there. When Wally should be able to do the same. And then we could both do that with Dave Weiss. And then Dave Weiss could be able to tell which one of those proofs was better for him.
Yeah, my horizontal and slope analogy was not good. I get it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We will agree.
So, like, you see the
basically
rise
saying
over run.
horizontal is always 0. Yeah.
Well, the rise over the run is that's the slope, isn't it?
Okay.
So
Okay. I
horizontal
think it
distance.
popped in my head that would something that. So you got to work with me here.
Okay.
If we're on a globe, we verified level, and we shot a horizontal line in every direction, you understand that those horizontals wouldn't be parallel to each other, right?
Yeah, horizontals are always parallel to each other.
No,
You can't tell me
but,
on something else because I only
okay,
live in reality.
Okay, no. You can do hypotheticals, Bev.
I can't
Why?
because that's ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous.
It is.
Okay, how about
Horizontals don't slope. They
Okay,
don't
how about
intersect.
this? On a basketball. Basketball's real.
Mm-hmm.
If we have 1 point on one side and 1 point on the other side, we put a miniature spirit level on it. We make that spirit level at a certain point on that ball.
Only
those horizontals, yeah, you can have 10 of them. It doesn't matter.
No, there would be one on the floor and one on the top. That would be it. They're the only horizontals you could have with that ball.
Just completely forgot who I was talking. Okay, I guess. See, if you're not going to play hypothetical with me, then it's not going to work because, and under my understanding of it, gravity is real. And if gravity is real, I can have level on any side of that sphere.
Oh no, gravity is real, and that's why I'm telling you.
Whoa,
you
really?
can only have one at the bottom and one at the top, right? Because that's the way it is.
Okay. If that ball had its own gravitational pull to its center of its mass, then you understand that level could be on anywhere on that ball.
No.
If gravity is real, then yes.
No, gravity works on the vertical, right? That's the only way it ever works.
On the vertical from your reference. So if that basketball has gravity, a pull to the center of its mass, that means that every point on that ball is going to be pulling towards the center. So what you're saying is correct.
No. Vertical won't change because you put a ball there. It doesn't affect it at all.
Okay. Again, see, you have to go with my hypothetical for you, because if you don't, then our understandings of how it works aren't going to match in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, but you're asking me to think of a vertical in a horizontal position. You're also asking me to think of a horizontal.
No, because if that ball we're talking about has a gravitational pull to it, the center of its mass, then every point on it is going to have a vertical.
Yeah. So you're saying, so there is no vertical and there is no horizontal.
Can I just say one thing real quick? You've accepted some information, Sean, that you're accepting as proof, right?
As in
we live on a ball. That's
a sphere. Yes.
Okay. So you've accepted that information as to be true.
Yes.
Okay. The problem is that's not information that everybody in here has accepted. So for you to say I have accepted that information, regardless of whether it's true or not, it's what you accept. So everything that comes after that comes through that filter.
trying to understand what you're saying, and it makes sense to me.
Uh,
It does make sense, or it doesn't.
It no, because when I how do you say it?
I mean, I'm just saying, you said earlier that a proof to you doesn't necessarily, and even Bev was like, it's either a proof or it's not a proof. And you were saying somebody could have a proof, but if it's proven wrong, then it's not a proof anymore. It's not even proof to that person. But
Exactly.
you've accepted some information that not everybody in here has accepted, and everything that you're saying is filtered through that information that you've accepted, that you live on a sphere. And everything you're saying is being filtered through that.
Okay, but in the same stance, you haven't proven that it's not a sphere. So my analogies will still work. My idea of how it works still works.
Yeah, but I'm not, I don't have to prove a negative.
And that you'd have to disprove it. You haven't disproven what I'm saying.
You
So I have
don't
to
disprove things. You
Yeah, yeah.
don't.
So
No,
if I
there's
if I
there's no disprove. It's either proved or it isn't. So have you proved it?
oh no. Okay, no.
No. Okay. So
There's no way
we
for me
don't have to
show you
disprove
it's a
it then,
proof.
do we? If it's not been proved, there's no such thing as disproof.
Well,
Like
the problem is,
Okay. Oh no, okay. Then
okay,
I know I get what he's saying now. Then
okay,
yes.
okay, but you're saying, okay, here's the thing. Let me break it down a little bit further. You're saying, you've accepted information, you live on a sphere, but when you tell Bev you got a ball and the center of gravity to that ball, well, that's making somebody imagine through the information you've accepted. Because if I hold a ball, I mean, is gravity to that ball? I mean, can I prove that if I'm holding it in my hand?
Okay, then that Bev just said that gravity. Wait, hang on. Were you saying gravity was real for the hypothetical, or are you saying that you accept that gravity is real?
If I'm holding a ball and I drop it, it goes down.
Okay,
Yeah.
but is that due to something else besides gravity, or is it gravity?
You can call it what you want. If you pick up a ball, if you pick up some weight that's denser or whatever, you drop it, it goes down. It's just like a plumb bob. It goes down, vertical.
Okay, then I guess the best thing I could say to show this would be, I guess you'd have to get obviously a powerful enough laser and set it at level and point it in one direction and something be on the other end of that, or miles and miles and miles away with the same powerful laser and point it in the other direction at its level. And that would be a way of proving that horizontals aren't always parallel to each other.
so you leveled those lasers. Are you saying that's horizontal?
For that point, yes, absolutely. You would create a horizontal line, or you would, yeah, create a horizontal line straight out in whatever direction, obviously pointing towards the other laser. And if horizontal, or if there, you can't have horizontal and them not be parallel to each other, then those beams are going to basically point to each other. But if what I'm trying to say is right, then those lasers are going to point off in two different directions, and then you will have two horizontals that are not parallel to each other. Now, if it needs to be shown to you, then the conversation stops there, because obviously I don't have the money to go buy lasers that strong, and you and that's all there is to it, right?
Well, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the light and the lasers, although I do quite like a little bit of laser waving.
Like rays, those are fun.
That's quite, yeah. But you know, like I've heard, I think we had Flat Earth Math come in last night, and he did the same thing, right? You have to check with the laser. Now, let's say we've got a water level, and it's, well, Math said about a mile, but I mean 400 meters, 12 point something mil drop, right? 400 meters. I mean, it's quite a lot for a laser, but let's theoretically get a fucking LIGO laser, right? And we'll put one at one end and one at the other end. Now, on your model that you say, those horizontals wouldn't be the same.
They would be parallel to each other.
Right, okay. Now, would they drop both of them? Or would they rise both of them?
They would
Because
both rise.
they would both rise. But can you remember the last time you were here? You said no hump.
There is no hump, period. I don't care what anyone says. Every glower that says there's a hump can suck up.
But you've just put two lasers
Mhm.
at either end, and they were both rising. So they would cross at the middle at a higher point.
Yes.
Well, so that's a hump, surely.
Nah, I don't say it's not a hump. I will never say it's a hump.
Well, what is it then?
Earth curvature.
But it's not a drop.
From one, yeah, from each end. From one end, the other end's dropped, and from that other end, the other side's dropped. But it's not a hump.
But you said they would cross at the middle at a higher point, not a
Yes.
drop.
Well, again, if you're at one point, that other side has dropped from your location. It's going to be lower than your laser beam. If you go to the other side, the same thing is going to happen. And in that, it is still not a hump. It's just not. If we were on a flat Earth and we did that same thing and the same results happened, I would consider that a hump.
Right, okay, so what you've just said there, if we're on a flat, I would think, you can't get an elevation angle because you're on a flat. Have you ever seen Flatland? Or read the novel?
No.
Well, there is no Z-axis in Flatland. It doesn't exist because it's 2D.
But in the sake of the argument, that's no one says that. No one believes that. No one thinks flat Earth is a piece of paper.
Okay, so what do you mean by flat Earth then? Like, you have to explain it. Because...
Okay. If we got the same result on a flat Earth, yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. If we were on a flat Earth, it wouldn't happen. In the situation that we're talking about,
there's no vertical on a flat.
There would be. Yeah, you're right, 100%. If it was a flat Earth, those lasers would be pointing at each other. There would be no X. And if there
there is an X and a Y. That's what flat is. Just
no.
plane.
I meant X in the laser. Remember when you shoot both lasers, and my guides of what results would happen, those lasers would form an X. To me, it's curvature. It's not a hump. But if it was a flat Earth, that would not happen. We would have two, and especially because remember those have to be level. So, yeah, it would. Those results would not happen the same if it was
are
a flat
you
Earth.
saying then, on a flat Earth, lasers always go dead straight, with no refraction or anything, right? No alteration.
I'm not saying that's kind of going away from the basic idea of what we're talking about. When you start talking about that stuff, I don't know.
But lasers do diverge, don't you? You've seen them, right? They go shooting upwards.
That's why I was saying, no, they shoot in all directions. But it disperses in every direction. It's not in only one. But that's why I was saying you can get a laser that is powerful enough that diversion is so little at say we'll just say 5 miles per hits and giggles. Then that wouldn't be an issue.
It's 12 mil according to your numbers though for the model, right? That 8-inch per mile squared that you have for your model, right? Well, that's 12 mil over 400 meters. So, you could notice that, right? You could definitely, messing
if
about
you're
with
using-
surveying tools, right? You have done
again,
that.
if you're using a laser that's powerful enough not to diverge at 4 miles, then yes, it would be
No,
definitely noticeable.
400
Otherwise, you're just gonna have
meters, Sean.
100 meters. I think is too.
12 millimeters. 400 meters.
At that point, you would just be measuring the width of your laser, your beam. Better way.
Right, 12 mil.
Yeah, because at that point,
Right, well,
at
that's
that point,
theoretical. We were dealing with a LIGO theoretical laser over 400
so it's
meters.
strong
A
as-
LIGO's a kilometer, 2 kilometers, right? So
Yeah.
that can't be going that big. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
wouldn't work.
Yeah, that I mean, if you had that, yeah, I think it would be noticeable.
Right, so when LIGO are holding their laser in the LIGO tubes, right, over 2 kilometers,
Mhm.
that's horizontal, right?
Yes,
Now-
and I think I saw you talking about it earlier, and you were correct. It is a straight line.
Mhm.
It is not level. It is straight.
Okay.
Because at the end of those arms are actually much higher off the surface of the earth than the beginning of it is.
Now, well, that's where we say, so if that was to happen, what you would say, over the water level, it would drop.
It would appear to drop, yes.
It would
From
appear
your-
to
from-
drop, or it would actually drop
No,
from the
it would
laser.
it would actually drop from that reference point, yes.
Right, so, okay. So from A to B, there is a drop,
Yes.
according to the laser. Now,
To my model, yes.
yeah. So then when you go to the other end, then it would have to rise, wouldn't it, according to that?
No. It would drop.
But there's already a line there that it has already dropped from.
Yes.
So you couldn't go back again and have it drop even more, could you?
If it's curvature, absolutely you can.
So you have an infinite drop of the water level.
I wouldn't say infinite, but you would be dropped.
Okay, well, you start off at one end, you make a horizontal, you go to the other end, the water level, it's dropped.
Mhm. Yes.
Right, but then you go to that place, put a horizontal where that water level is, and go back to the other end, and there is a drop of the water level.
Yes.
And then you put a horizontal at the other end, and there is a drop at the other end.
Other end. Yep.
Right, so that horizontal can't be horizontal, right?
No, it is. Again, for the model that we're talking about, we're talking about level. We were talking about gravity, and that level is to reference to where you're at.
But a water level establishes a horizontal plane across the two.
See,
bits.
that's the issue in the conversation, because at that point it does not. That's where two horizontals are not parallel to each other.
Right. But it's one body of water, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would say, yeah, they're connected. Yep.
It's just one body of water. It's not that they're
Essentially.
connected. It is just one body of water in a water level.
Yeah. Yes.
So would you have that one body of water being higher than the other two bits? Because that's what I would call that a hump.
When you say higher, are you saying in elevation, or are you just saying across that horizontal that you've created from one point?
Well, I know the water level establishes a horizontal plane of reference, right, with 0 elevation changes.
Well,
Because-
again, you have the only way for you to grasp what I'm saying, I guess, is if you accept. I don't want to say accept because you're not going to. If you understand that what I'm saying under those guides, we live on a sphere and there's a globe or gravity, because that is what the reference of level is. So
That's
how could
information you've accepted.
No, it's information that can be shown. It's
Okay,
information
well,
that
that's the point, right? Can you put that into a proof that
if I had enough, if I
you
had,
would feel comfortable enough. No, just a
okay,
proof.
okay, in a sense, yes, because that's the plan. The time, I don't have time to do that right now. Straight up, that's all there is to it. And honestly, Discord and Flat Earth and all that stuff is probably closer to the lower totem pole of my list. So, but the same thing you're talking about doing with a laser, it's the same thing you do with a novel level.
Yeah.
And in that sense, that would show proof of it.
Does an auto level
I
give you
think,
horizontal?
yes. I think
Do you level it?
a horizontal plane of reference, yes.
Do you level
Um,
the instrument?
yes, absolutely.
Nice.
Uh, if I think using a laser at especially whatever distance you want would be better because then you actually can see that it does that.
Right. Okay. So let's just go for a second. Right now, you're setting an auto level up. Right. Where's the horizontal when you set an auto level up?
Level. You're horizontal once you've established your level on it,
Yeah.
right?
And that
Okay.
would be what, the crosshairs.
Yes, that would be your 0.
Right, and you could, well, whatever height above the benchmark, right? That's where you get your elevation height, right? Because you would backsight to
Yeah, you would have to.
a benchmark, and then you
Yeah,
would adjust
you
to
would.
the height above that
Yeah,
benchmark.
if it's 5 feet up, I would have to establish that into my calculation.
Well,
Yeah,
you just start off with that as your number, right? Once you've done
yeah,
that, you find out the elevation of your auto level. Right now,
yeah,
as you spin that around 360 degrees, let's say 50 meters out, so that's up like 100 meters diameter circle. Yeah?
yes,
Okay, now all of that is a horizontal plane.
yes,
Now, at every point, wherever you hold your measuring rod, at the end of that thing, wherever you're doing it to mark your thing, you're holding that measuring rod vertical.
yes,
And it is perpendicular to that horizontal plane.
yes.
Right. But the
If
bit
you have
where
a
the
good,
auto level is
if you have
horizontal
someone,
also.
if you have someone holding that pole, that stick
Yeah.
correctly,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at that point, you would read. Let's just say 5 feet. You extend that to 200 meters. You're going to have 4 feet, 11 inches and a half. Well, this bullshit say number. Sorry, I know you don't like cussing. Just throw numbers. But this is the progression of what you're going to see on that pole. If
What?
as you go further and further away,
Yeah.
that 5 foot horizontal benchmark that you've established is going to get lower and lower and lower till the point where you may be at 5.5 feet on that horizontal plane at 600 meters or so.
Well, 600 meters, you wouldn't be 5.5 feet, would you?
Oh, no. I'm just throwing numbers out because I'm just free ball talking right now.
Yeah. Well, we can get the numbers because we've got the Slice Barcane bending water level test numbers.
Did you say that didn't work though?
No, but we've got the numbers, right? We've got your guys have give us the calculations, so
No, stop that, Bev.
don't need
You
to
know
bother
that,
doing
Bev?
that.
I'm on Team Sean. I'm not on Team them. I don't
Yeah, I
care
know,
what they
but
do, what they
you
say.
will go with the 8 inches per mile, right? So they're the numbers that they've been
To a
given.
certain point, yes.
Yeah, that's your model numbers
To
for
a
the
certain point,
curvature
yes.
of level, right?
To a certain point, yes.
Yeah, well, you've got other people that say it, right? You've got the main surveyor. He's not a surveyor, really. And you've got Jesse Kozlowski. Those two go with the 8 inches per mile squared.
To a certain point, yes.
Yeah, well, because that's where they say there is. And they say it's measurable, like you.
Yes. It definitely is.
Well, it's not because it's not there. It's horizontal.
No, it's then what would be that drop be due to?
What
Because
drop?
we're any drop. So you're saying that there's
That would be called a river if there was a drop.
have you done it to show there's no drop?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that you've set up a situation where you've had levels at two different areas. We'll just say a water level, and you've shot a horizontal from one point, and that other end was perfectly horizontal with it, parallel with it.
Yeah, it's a geometric method
No, no,
to
no.
show a
That's
shared straight line segment, and it
but
works in reality.
okay.
Yeah.
But when you say that, what you mean to say is you used a water level, and because the water level was set correctly, that's your quote unquote proof.
No, my proof is from first principles to show that level is horizontal.
But that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, uh, what did you show? How did you show that there was no drop?
Because it's a water level.
Okay, but then how did you verify that there is no? Because again, there's a side that says there would be drop, and if the situation of what we've been
There's
talking
no
about,
drop in a
you would then
water
have to
level. There's no drop in a water level
between two ends. How did you verify that?
because
Because all you
it's a
did, because
water
all
level.
you
It would
did
piss
was
out if there was
establish.
a drop.
All you did was establish an elevational level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, you understand that. Say, uh, we're on a slight hill, and you set up an auto level. You understand that that horizontal is going to be skyrocket above the ground, obviously, because elevation will drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Same with the
Now,
water level.
okay, so if you set up an auto level at one end and you shot it, the other end is either not going to drop or it's going to drop. Have you done that part?
Well, the auto level only go to about 50 meters, right?
No, I don't agree with that. Or wait. Under what you would want, I get that. But at a distance to see whether it's dropping or not, you don't need to be within a spec mount.
No, to
It's
use the
either
auto level, yes, you do. You need to be
why.
within the distance.
So if I'm doing a drainage ditch, for instance, um, but the guy's like, hey, it doesn't need to be at 0.5%, doesn't need to be at 1%, but it just needs to fall.
What do you mean 1% slope
If,
grade?
yeah. If you're doing a drainage, usually drainages are at a percentage.
Yeah, 1 in
So
100 then.
yeah, so it'd be 1 foot every 100 feet.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, you don't need your numbers. You just need to know it drops at a certain rate, or every 100 feet, you need to know it's lower than your position where you're shooting it from, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In that situation, you don't have to be within a millimeter. You
No,
just
you
need to
have to be
know.
within a foot.
No.
Of 100
Yeah,
feet, you have to be
if
2
the
the
guy
foot, yeah,
says,
surely.
yeah, if the guy says I want it to be a 1% fall, then
Yeah.
yes, you do. But
Yeah.
if the guy says I don't care what percent, I just need it to drain, then you don't need to be 1%.
Well,
You don't
yeah, but
need
you
that 100.
wouldn't just say you need it to drain. You'd say
Oh yeah, you can.
what flow
Absolutely.
rate? How much are you going to need?
No,
What is the
that's not true.
flow?
Because if you're doing, say, a French drain doesn't have to be at 1%, doesn't have to be at a percent. It just needs fall.
Yeah, but what amount of water is it going to have to channel through?
Very little, just enough.
Well, I mean that's why it doesn't need any flow on it. You never heard of quinats? Quinats.
Say it again.
Have you ever heard of quinats?
No.
It's like it's a Q word, but there's no U. I don't know how to say those words.
No, I've never. I don't think I've heard of it.
It's like a water flow in the desert, and
A crevasse.
they go for
No,
miles
that's not. Like
with
a wash.
very little drop.
Yeah. Okay. I see. So it's almost less than a 0.5%.
Well, sometimes it can be inches in miles.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. 0.1%.
Well, yeah,
At,
very
yeah.
little. In fact, they have to go so at such a slow rate because you don't want to wash the spill on it or anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know. I don't know what the term for it is, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's a way to have a runoff without worrying about erosion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in that situation, you don't need numbers. or no, in that situation, you absolutely need numbers. But to have any fall, any drainage, if it doesn't matter, because in this situation, we're going to say it doesn't matter. We don't care about erosion. We don't care about this rate that it drains. We just need it to drain. We don't want any standing water. If that's the case, you can you can walk 100 feet every 100 feet, and as long as it's lower than the point you're referencing from, then it will drain,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and you can do that without needing to know a percentage.
You need to know what horizontal is, right? To in order to
But no,
be
no, but
able to
you
do
don't
your
need.
slope
But
and your
again,
grade.
you don't need to know. You don't need to have a set percentage to have a drain. So, uh,
No,
I
it
it
just
could
has to be a drop, right? There
yeah,
has to
it
be a
just has to be lower
measurable
from your
drop
reference.
from horizontal
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
to
So if
have
that's the
flow.
case, then just for the reference of it, the millimeter you needed to be in doesn't need to be in that situation, right?
Yeah, but see, that's a problem that you're having now. Then,
No, no, that's not a problem for me at all.
well, you
What
in
I'm trying
order
to
to
explain
have a
is
drain, you need to have a drop. But
no, no, no.
you,
Yeah, you're right.
you
Yeah,
already have a
absolutely.
drop.
Are you
No,
trying to
see,
justify
Yeah.
something?
no, see, that's the difference between an elevation and curvature. Because if in what you're saying, what you just said, the drop that I'm explaining before is not an elevation drop. When we're
Drop
talking
from
draining,
horizontal it was before.
no, no, yeah, from your horizontal reference, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start. You're at point A. You have your auto level set at level. You've set it up, bubble level, whatever. Uh, it creates that horizontal line.
Yep.
If we're talking about drainage, which is an elevational change,
Yep.
then it just needs to creep below that horizontal that you've created. As
Yeah, but
long as every spot is low.
if you have it
Go ahead.
horizontal though, right?
Mhm.
That would mean the water doesn't move.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
But you have it flowing the opposite way because you should
No,
have it flowing down.
no. Okay, then there's the difference because what I'm explaining has nothing to do with elevation. That drop from both ends isn't an elevational change.
Right. Well, what is an elevational change then?
The drainage that we're talking
Yeah, the
about.
drop from the horizontal
Mhm.
is the elevational change.
Yes, exactly.
So
Now,
so
now here's okay,
horizontal
and
is no
here's
elevation change. If you have a
yes,
horizontal,
correct.
okay.
If you from that reference, if everything is on your reference frame, horizontal, you will have no drop in elevation
From the horizontal.
from the horizontal. Now, the reason that's so important is because now we've established that horizontal and draining, so we know that if something drops below that horizontal, it's an elevation change, correct?
Yeah, that's what I'd say, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Now, the situation that then comes up that's important is what if from one end to the next point, you know, is level. There is no elevation change.
Horizontal.
But that horizontal line it doesn't go parallel with it. It doesn't match up to the second other end. What would be the case of that?
You whatever your tool you're using's fucked. Because there
But then,
is going to be a drop if it's not on the same horizontal.
but okay, perfect. So if you from one end you shoot out and you create that horizontal, and one end is lower than your horizontal, there's something going on. You can say you're not setting the machine up right. Okay, but let's do it 100 times. Have different people doing it, and eventually you're gonna have to admit it was set up correct. Matter of fact, you could do an elevational check to see if what you're seeing is right or wrong. Now, when that happens on a situation where you have what you believe is two level points to each other, and there's a drop, then it's not. We know it's not elevation change. So that's why I've asked 1,000 times if you've done it, because if you've done it and you know that your water level are set correctly and they're both level to each other, but yet it's dropped from your horizontal from one point, then that's curvature. There's no other way around it. You know it's
Drop
curvature
from
because it's not
horizontal
an
is an
elevation change.
elevation change, though, we said at the beginning.
Okay, yes, but in the situation of knowing the elevations of 2 points level, if that horizontal doesn't line up, then it has to be something other than elevation change.
Right, so if you've got 2 points, A and B, and you've got a horizontal in between A and B, then there is no drop in between A and B. You're saying that is at the same elevation
Yes,
from A to B.
from A to B, with your water level, yes, that's
Okay.
going to be at the same elevation.
Well, let's put
But
a point
again,
C.
but again,
Let's put a point C in the middle of that. A, so right, so A, B is the full length, but we're going to put a C, right? So now C to B is on the line A to C. A, B, C, right? They're all on the same line.
Yeah.
Now, let's just extend C to B by the same length that it is already, right? So we just make that straight line a little bit longer. Now that line is all the same length. And it's all horizontal. There's no drop. Is that all the same elevation?
yes,
Okay, and then we extend the line again. And they're all on the same straight line. Is that the same elevation still?
yep.
Even though it's horizontal?
Wait, if each point is set to your horizontal, is that what you're asking? Or
No.
set at see, that's where okay. I'm confused.
Horizontal, yes. There's zero drop. It's a horizontal. However you're going to establish that horizontal.
Okay, so I think that's what you're saying. So from point A, we've set up and we've created that horizontal line.
Yeah.
Point B, you set to the horizontal, you're saying?
How do you want to do this with an auto level? Should we?
Yeah.
Okay,
All
right.
level. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's put the auto level in the middle. Right?
Okay.
Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna measure at 50 meters one way and 50 meters the other way. Right? From this one set point. So we're gonna set the auto level up and we're gonna go 50 meters one way, 50 meters the other way. Right? Now that's 3 points, isn't it, that are on the same horizontal. You've got the bit where the auto level is and the bit at either end.
Yep.
Right, now that's one straight line 100 meters but broke up into two 50-meter pits, right?
Yeah. And
Now-
okay. So we're not using the water level, right? Just so I understand. We're not we're
This
just
is
talking
just
with
an
our
auto level, yeah. One
Okay, perfect.
horizontal
Okay.
plane all the way along. Now,
Okay.
if we move it and put the auto level at the other point, where the very far end of that horizontal plane was,
Okay, so we've set a mark that we know that horizontal line is at another end.
yeah. Well, let's say we will take a back sight, right, to a benchmark. For ease of whatever, let's say 1 meter. I know we're not little old dwarfs, right? But we set it at a meter to keep it at a meter. Now we're going to have the land also already set. Just keep it dead simple at 1 meter.
Okay,
Right.
so we've established a flat ground.
Yeah, it's already established as flat ground just to keep the numbers right. That's why we're saying 1 meter. So we're going to take a benchmark, a back sight of 1 meter. So that's
Yes.
going to set the auto level height at 1 meter.
Yes.
Right, then we're going to then turn the auto level round 180 degrees, facing the opposite direction, and we're going to go 50 meters away, say, put the rod down, and we're going to look at it and go, wow, 1 meter. We've got like fucking perfect 2 peg test, right?
50 meters, yes.
So then what we do is we pick the auto level up, move it over to the one end, put it down, and we're going to sight that one that we've just measured. And we're going to look and go, shit, how the hell did we do that? 1 meter. We've put the auto level up at exactly the same height as it was. Boom, when you put it there, right? On that far end. So then just to check, 2 peg test, we'll go back and we'll put the measuring rod where the auto level was in the first place.
Yes.
It would read 1 meter.
1 meter. Yeah.
Right, okay. Now we could turn it round 180 degrees and go 50 meters further on. Boom, put the rod down. 1 meter. Right? Now, let's say the ground stays exactly the same and we are lucky enough to put that there 1 meter. Again, every time, right? And we could keep doing that for, say, 16 turns of 100 meters. Now, would you say that line, that all at 1 meter, all the way along, would that be a horizontal line, straight?
At each reference point, yes. If we had 16 shots, each one being 50 meters apart, and you went from your very last shot and you shot all the way across to the next side, it would. That's the point of that's called sweeping.
Yeah, it's differential leveling, right?
Yes, and in that situation, because you're going off 50 meters, 50 meters, 50 meters. If you're only looking back 50 meters at a time, it's always going to be 1 meter. The further away you go, the less that will be. For instance, this is a perfect example. There are guys who will do a long runway, for instance. The reason you have to do that, where you're doing it 50 meters at a time, is so that you can keep that established horizontal. If you shot a far distance, you would then have to adjust that. That's the whole reason you take those back sights. That's the whole reason you have to do that, because you have to establish that. And there are situations where it will be different the further away your shot is.
Yeah, but
Because
keep to those short bits at 50 meters, you could carry on going indefinitely, like with that horizontal.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And every one of those horizontals that you've just done,
yep,
would be parallel, right?
Yeah, but the difference is you're establishing that horizontal line. The distance between it, 50 meters, isn't enough for it to change. But that's why if you take the shot from both ends after all those 16 back shots, it will be off. It won't be the same. That's why you have to constantly give it a new reference point.
Yeah, but
you're having to give it to that new reference point for that reason.
If we've done 16 turns, we've gone 1,600 meters. We've gone a mile.
Yes.
A horizontal with zero change.
Yeah, but that you got to remember, each point, you have moved your reference frame each time. So you're carrying that horizontal line.
Yeah, but we did have a shared straight line segment all the way through, didn't we?
Because your reference changed.
To check but we checked the horizontal and it was the same horizontal all the way.
Yeah, because the only way for that to be possible is because you've broken up those points and changed the reference frame each time.
No, that's how differential leveling works with a shared straight line segment.
But because you're changing its reference each time, 50 meters, 50 meters, 50 meters, then you're establishing new reference points.
Yeah, but like we said, they're all parallel.
To each reference to the next, yes.
Yeah.
But as one, it's going to be your that's the reason that's done, because if you don't, that one reference frame will not establish a 1 meter horizontal across that whole field, whole mile. If it didn't work that way, why not just shoot it from the one spot and shoot it as far as you can go?
Because you can't see that far to measure on your measuring rod.
There are different tools that you can, and to think that a even a $500 tool would be able to do it is ridiculous. Those ones are far beyond that 5, 6, 7, 8 grand for you. It's not a tool that can only do so much. It's the quality of that tool that does what it does. So
No,
your auto level may only go so far, but that doesn't mean your auto
it's
level.
the most accurate.
Okay, so you're saying that you have the top dollar auto level.
No,
Top
no.
dollar.
I
Matter of
have
fact,
the most
I would say
accurate in the shop made, but
no,
not for
no,
precise and
but
for precision, because you come even down even less. You come to 25 meters,
well, how
10
about this?
meters
Okay,
in order to get
I
fractions
guess
of a.
the best way for me to explain what I'm trying to say is this: do you believe that you have the top dollar survey uh,
No,
tool?
it's definitely not the top dollar,
Okay,
but I mean,
and
it's
in
not
that,
all
and
about
yeah,
dollar. It's about the.
no, no,
Yeah,
it is because
no,
yours.
it's not.
Okay, so are you saying that there are no other surveying tools that can see further than yours?
Yeah, it's a 32 times scope. You might be able to get a 35 times scope, I think I've seen, but nothing better than that, no.
So you're saying between total stations and data lights that yours sees just as far as those top dollar
Yeah,
ones.
32 times scopes normally the best. But I mean, like I say, you can get a 35 times scope. But I mean, for what? See, this is where we go. I don't think you can see any further because have you have tried looking obviously over that sort of distance and you can't see the measuring rod. Like we've done plenty of these tests at
Yeah,
over
but see,
on the beach.
okay, the best part. So, when you're doing using an auto level, using uh, uh, a laser, those are to certain points, like you're saying. But there are other tools that are better for going further and methods that make it so you can do so. For instance, when you use a total station, you don't use a leveling rod. You use a reflector. That reflector, using that method, using a reflector, is obviously going to give you a more accurate at a further distance than trying to see markings on a measuring rod, right?
Uh-huh.
And in that situation, then we're talking about being able to go further with your measurements. So your auto level may only be effective at 50 meters in the accuracy that you want, but there are other tools that we can use that go much further that show these things much better. For instance, you can set up a total station and a reflector on a water level test, and that's going to be there's no argument that that's going to be accurate because if it's too far away, that that ping back isn't going to happen.
Right. How
You
far
won't be
how
able to.
far can you go with the total station then?
Um, the furthest I've gone personally is a half mile.
Nice. And how
And the
accurate?
only
How accurate
in that
over a half mile?
it's as accurate as it needs.
Yeah,
There
but
is
what do you
no
mean
error
is it
margin in
needs?
there. It does. There is no error margin in there because if the only when you're
There's
shooting at
no
that
error
reflector,
of margin
no, because if you're using a total station and I'm shooting to a reflector,
to the millimeter
the
then.
yes, absolutely.
Over a
Because
half
if you're
mile.
yes, because if you're shooting
No
to a
way.
reflector, okay, how does a total station reflector work? It shoots to the
I haven't got a
reflector.
clue.
Okay, well, I'll explain. It shoots the reflector, that a beam, and then that beam has to come back to that total station. If it's off and you're not hitting that reflector, you're not going to get a beam back. So if you're getting a reading back, you are accurate. You if you set your pole to 6 feet, it's going to tell you that elevation of exactly where that reflector is if you can hit it. Now, at a half mile, it is very difficult to do this. It takes a long time to do so.
But it can be done,
But it,
you
yeah,
say.
absolutely, it does. I've done it. I can show you the tow pole that comes off of doing that.
Okay, so that was a horizontal that you set with the total station.
No, 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 no. In that situation, no, it wasn't a horizontal. It was a point, and I think it was probably a 60-foot elevation drop in that situation. I'm not saying that I used it as a horizontal. No, I'm just telling you that at a certain distance, can be done with other tools.
A half a mile.
Yeah. So you could set up a 800-meter water level and set up a reflector that's that's even with the water, the level of the water, and shoot it from the other end with the total station, and it's going to be as accurate as possible. It's going to be completely accurate. I can set up a horizontal line with that total station, and then have to find that make the reflector go up until it finds it. The thing is, I don't have a total station, so that's going to be a little difficult to do in that situation. That's why auto levels are talked about, because they're easier to get, they're easier to be able to rent and all that kind of stuff. They're cheaper. But yeah, there's a definite difference between the optics and what you're doing in distance with these tools. When you use a total station and reflector, you are going far beyond what auto level will ever be able to do. And you're also not trying to find a measuring rod. You're not trying to find a notch in the measuring rod within a millimeter, because it's not necessary.
At half a mile, you're talking about 50 mil, you know.
Yeah.
On your model.
No. On any, because we're not even talking a model now. Period. That's just how a total station works. That's why a total station is.
Yes,
that's
right.
why a total station is so far superior to an auto level.
Okay, so this is what Dave Weiss is after. Right? You say there are tools that over half a mile are accurate to the millimeter. Well, you've got numbers that have been given to you from your guys. I know you don't say you go with them, but they've come up with the number 800 meters, which is half a mile, is 50.22759 millimeters. That's millimeters to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decimal places.
And what were they using?
Calculations. But you said you can do it with
what tool?
You said
what tool are they using?
You said you can do it with a total station.
Absolutely, but that's why I'm asking. What were they using? Because in the situation of what they were using, it still needed a measuring rod, right?
No, they're not doing any measurements. They're just doing calculations from the numbers that from your model.
Okay, yeah. Then when I was total station, absolutely.
Right.
I thought you were talking about a test they did.
Well,
that's why I was asking what.
No. Okay. Nobody's ever done this test, right? You know that, don't you?
Pretty sure that not in this community.
Well, so you've just seemed to have come up with a method very easily off the top of your head that nobody has ever even thought of. I mean, I didn't even know that total stations can actually go half a mile at an accuracy of 1 millimeter. Didn't even know it was possible.
Now you do.
So can they establish a horizontal, like an auto level?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Oh, well, that sounds good. I mean, we just get a couple of those then, and
they're expensive, but yeah. And then there's a learning curve.
Yeah. So you definitely going with this.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going with it. I'm not paying for one. Things are expensive.
Well, this is Dave Weiss, right?
If he wants to fork over the free Bitcoin first, then I'll do it.
What, if he wants to give you the Bitcoin first?
You do it? Yeah.
Well, I don't think we need you anymore, actually, Sean. I'm sorry.
No, you don't. You just need to talk to someone who has a total station.
Well, yeah, because like I say, it's horizontal. I could do this with a water level.
I'm pretty sure George has one, but he's a little annoying to talk to as well. Oh no, Jesse has one. I guess you just have to talk to him.
In the tools and the accuracy of these tools, what would you think would be the smallest distance that you need to do? Because half a mile is quite a big distance. What would be the smallest? How accurate can you get these tools to be?
Well, you can do it. If you were talking about 400 meters, then it's just as easy. It'd be more accurate than an odd level and a stick roller.
Okay, so if we go from these numbers then, like at 100 meters, it says 0.78.
But see, you got to remember those numbers
Hmm.
aren't made up. They're established by something. They would have had to have something to establish that by.
Just
So to say that
calculations. They're just calculations.
it's okay, but calculations from what?
From Pythagoras. He used Pythagoras, obviously, because
Well, I'm pretty sure Jesse's done this before.
I'm pretty
These
sure
numbers.
he hasn't.
So he's a geodetic surveyor. I know these numbers aren't just there. He has to use these numbers.
No,
A geodetic surveyor does these shots at over a mile.
no, they don't.
Yeah, absolutely they do.
You've Jesse's lied to you, and you've listened to him.
No, I know surveyors that do these things. I know geodetic surveyors, they do these things. Why would there be a difference between a geodetic surveyor and a plane surveyor if these things didn't
There
matter?
isn't.
If these just there is okay.
No,
then-
there isn't. There's no
so you're
difference
telling me
in
that
any
there's all
surveys.
you're telling me there's two different industries that
No.
are making all this
No,
money.
I'm telling you, there are only surveyors. That's it.
No, I would beg to differ. There's a distinct difference between the two, and in the amount of work scope that they have, and in that, a geodetic surveyor is going to have a much further workload. A plane surveyor, it does sites, small distances.
Yeah, there's just surveyors, right?
No, I'm not. I will never agree to that because there are two distinct.
Well, I mean, there's like quantity surveyors, but they're not the same sort of surveyors at all.
Well, there's a plane surveyor and there are geodetic surveyors.
What's the difference? Is there any difference in tools?
Absolutely,
What?
scope of work.
What's the different tools that a plane
No,
surveyor uses to
Or a
geodetic
geodetic
survey?
surveyor is going to use a tool that with obviously more magnification, more powerful of a beam. It's the scope of work is bigger, so they're going to use tools that establish further distances.
Still
Again,
plane though, right?
I say the same thing. A grade checker is going to use an auto level, a laser level, but he doesn't need a total station.
Yeah.
The surveyor is going to use a total station, GPS, or grade checker use GPS.
Yeah, and an
but they're going
auto
to use
layer, auto level, whatever
Mhm.
tool they need to be using, they will use.
Okay. But then once you get to surveying and then you start talking about geodetic surveying, those tools are going to be better, more precise, more accurate for further distances as well.
Same tools though.
But yeah, if that's what there are total stations for every level. There are auto levels for every level of work. There are theodolites for every level of work. It's not just one thing.
Yeah, so everybody's just a surveyor, right? There's no difference.
No, that. Then you're saying grade checkers are surveyors.
Yeah, if they've got a surveying qualification, yes, they're just
No.
surveyors.
No, a grade checker is not the same as a surveyor. They're two different scopes of work.
If they're doing surveying, then there are only one surveyor, right?
A surveyor
Mm-hmm.
that plots points on a job site
Mm-hmm.
is not the same as a geodetic surveyor who does not plot points on a house pad. Doesn't plot points for curb and gutter.
Yeah, they do. Surveyors.
Geodetic survey? No.
Surveyors, yes. Surveyors plot
Geo-
points all over the
Geo-
place for any
geodetic
building contraction they need to do for
Geodetic-
housing estates, for
Okay.
buildings, for houses,
If
for plots of
geodetic
land.
surveyors,
Yes.
geodetic surveyors do not plot out a building. Surveyors plot out a building. There's a difference. I'm sorry. Plane surveyors plot out a building. That's the difference. A geodetic surveyor
Not in the UK,
plots,
I'm sorry.
plots a canal. A geodetic surveyor plots a riverway. A geodetic survey plots highways and over long distances. Their scope of work is different. It's that simple.
Yeah.
There
Differential
is a
leveling
difference.
for
There's a difference.
adjusting
You're just adding words
benchmarks
now.
and
When we're establishing
datums.
that we're establishing the differences in these situations, there's a difference between a grade checker than a surveyor,
Will you
a plane
stop
surveyor.
calling them grade checkers?
Why?
I'm saying Surveyors.
Yes.
Right.
But
Okay.
you
Now,
need to understand that a grade checker works off a plane surveyor. A plane surveyor will work off geodetic surveys. They are not the same.
what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the realization that there is a difference between a plane surveyor and a geodetic surveyor. There
What's
is
the
a
difference?
Look it up, Bev. I've already explained it six
No.
times. No.
Tell me what's the
You have to-
difference. They use
I've done it. I
tools that
have.
establish horizontals and they check for elevation changes. Exactly the same. There is no difference.
Scope of work.
Scope of work. I mean, what the
Yes.
fuck are you talking about?
Okay, let's do this again. A grade checker will do curb and gutters and house pads that are established.
But that
From
we're not
planes
talking
from-
about grade
Calm down.
checkers. We're
Hey,
talking about
Calm down, buddy.
surveyors.
Just calm down.
People do this for a job, you dickhead.
Yeah. Dude, calm down.
Right, so we don't start talking
So-
about road sweepers.
So, great road sweepers. Okay. Grade checkers work off of plane surveyors.
Well,
plane
right,
surveyors.
we're talking about
Plane-
surveyors.
Yes.
Right,
Plane
not grade checkers.
surveyors.
Forget about grade checkers.
Plane surveyors work off of geodetic surveys.
What do you mean they work off? What are you talking about?
They use their points as references.
What
the same
points?
way. Okay. So you obviously know if you're doing
I know
say-
where the benchmarks are, right? I
So
know
if
where
you're
they
doing-
all are, right? Now,
Yeah,
if
so
I
if you're
take a
doing
point from a benchmark,
yes.
what you laughing at?
You're getting all worked up. and
No,
it's
I'm not
necessary.
getting worked up. You
call
seem to
me-
be misunderstanding
Bev,
an
you call
entire
me-
industry
Bev,
that you think
decided
you
to-
are
to call
doing.
you decided to call me a dickhead for what reason?
Because you keep talking about grade checkers and we are
You
not
establishing-
talking about grade checkers.
Well, if I have to keep establishing what the scope of work is, then I do have to. Because what you're saying is that surveying is surveying, surveying is surveying. But in reality, Bev, there are two different types of surveying. One is plane surveying, one is a geodetic surveyor.
Right,
Don't
and
want
I'm
to
asking
understand
you,
that, then I'm
what
sorry.
to you is the difference?
Scope of work.
What do you
This
mean
is
by
now the-
scope of work?
Okay. I don't want to be called a dickhead again.
Go on, give us a job that a geodetic surveyor would do.
Okay, perfect. He will do the layout of a full canal. He will
Right,
do
okay.
the
Now,
layout.
where would
he
he
will do
get his
the-
benchmark from to start
He will
off with?
he establishes the benchmark.
He wouldn't.
Okay.
how would he
Who
establish the benchmark?
Who establishes the benchmark then, Bev?
The benchmarks are already there, you dickhead.
How?
What? How?
So they just know that that's 10 feet to the 1,000 foot? They
Look,
just know. They just know this stuff, right?
yes, because they know where the benchmarks are.
How?
Right, down the road from me.
Who did the
Down
benchmark?
the road from me, there is
Yes.
a benchmark in a
Yes.
brick at the side of a house.
Yes, and it has a little. Usually says like US. Or I don't know what it says there, but here it would say USGS and
Yeah,
have a
and
bunch
it
of
was
numbers.
set-
Yeah,
It was
okay.
set
Who
in
did
the
that?
1960s.
Who did that?
A surveyor.
A geodetic survey.
No, a surveyor.
Yes. Geodetic.
They did line surveying, differential surveying.
A geodetic surveyor did this.
It was a surveyor.
A geodetic surveyor.
It was a surveyor that set that benchmark. Right now, who uses that benchmark?
surveyors.
Right. What sort of surveyors use that benchmark?
Plane surveyors.
Right. Okay. So anybody that uses that benchmark is going to be a
As a
plane
reference?
surveyor.
That uses that benchmark as a reference. Yes.
Okay.
Or
So
no,
that would be
and-
every
and
surveyor,
for-
right? That
for
uses
their-
that.
For their scope of work. But who sets those? Geodetic. If you go ask a plane surveyor to set a benchmark, he's not going to do it. He's going to tell you to go contact a geodetic surveyor. This is why there's these differences between a plane surveyor and a geodetic surveyor.
Well,
It's
those
just the reality of it. I'm
those
sorry.
marks are already done, and if you want to
Okay,
set a
who
new
does
benchmark,
those
what you
marks?
do is you go to one of those and
Mhm.
then move it to wherever you want your new one to be. But it comes from that old one. And that old one came from another old one. And that one came from another old one, right? Now, in the UK,
Uh-huh.
in the 1800s, when they were building the canal that we're talking about, right, for the water, that's when they started with the benchmarks. Now, what sort of
okay.
surveyors did
Well, I have
that?
Bev, you went to school for surveying.
Yeah.
Did you learn how to set?
surveying.
Did you learn? Yeah. Did you learn how to set a benchmark?
Yes.
Create a benchmark.
Yes.
Okay. And in that, is that part of the scope of work for, say, doing the sections of your canal that you did?
Yes, you just go and find one that's
Okay,
already been set, and then you find that, and you move to the new one. Yes.
Yes.
Differential leveling.
Okay. I get what you're saying, but you're avoiding the fact that there's an industry of surveying that actually does those benchmarks versus someone who uses those benchmarks. There's a difference. That's what you're not understanding. You did not set a benchmark. You used a benchmark. And the ones that set that benchmark are geodetic surveyors.
No.
The ones who use those benchmarks are plane surveyors.
No.
Scope of work is the
Dude.
difference.
It's not.
It is.
No.
And
What
anyone,
you
anyone
do is you
listening,
get one from-
anyone listening can go online and easily
You just
type
find
in
a
plane
benchmark
surveyor,
and
geodetic
you know
survey,
what height
and then
is.
you will see the differences between the two.
Right. Well, you just said it before. When we were checking it, we take the first measurement from the back
Okay,
side.
so now you're going way back to the other part. Okay, go ahead.
You say you find a little pin in the floor with a benchmark, right? So you know the height of that because it's already there. It's been set. You dial up the numbers and go, oh, hello, Ordnance Survey. I've got a benchmark here. Can you give me the height of that benchmark, please? And they go, right, yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, I say, I see a geodetic surveyor has plotted a benchmark for me. I need that elevation in that location to then to then go off of to establish my points somewhere else.
Yeah, because we've got a building site over there, and we need to set a benchmark for the site. So we need to know what the height is from this one, and this is the one we're going to use to transfer it to that one over there.
That is a plane surveyor's. What you just described is what a plane surveyor does, thanks to a geodetic surveyor's point.
But could it have been that a plane surveyor moved that other one to where it was from a different place?
Again, a plane surveyor will take a set benchmark and then establish his own mark points from that. A plane surveyor.
Yep.
A geodetic surveyor will not do all those little dilly-dally points all over the job site.
Initially, when that first starts off from the first point, right? That's a plane surveyor, isn't it? And he's just moving that one.
Wait, the benchmark itself?
Yeah, the very first one.
No, a geodetic surveyor set that point, that benchmark.
No, that would be the mean sea level set, wouldn't it? That would be
confusing yourself.
So
We're
that's
talking
not
about
a geodetic surveyor that sets
We're talking about a geodetic point.
You're just talking about a
done.
mean.
No. You're talking about these points. I think someone just shared it into the chat just now. That benchmark, that point, that geodetic, keyword, geodetic point was done by a geodetic surveyor. A plane surveyor does not set those. A plane surveyor uses those as reference.
Yeah, but it's exactly the same process to put that one there as it is to take it from there and make another one.
It is not.
Yes, Sean.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you're telling. Okay, so then how did these first points, these first geodetic points established? Where did they get it from?
They took it when they were doing the canal that we keep talking about that goes from Leeds to Liverpool. They set it at the river, the Mersey. Then they needed to know how
far is
high
that?
to go
How
up the
far?
locks.
How far away from sea level, a reference to sea level, was it?
Well, there's 3 locks and it goes 51 feet over those 3 locks.
Okay. How far away from sea level? How far away, not elevation wise, how far away from a reference of sea level is those points?
The river, the Mersey.
Okay. Wait. So you're telling me they set a geodetic survey level at sea level using a river?
The canal was where they wanted the barges to go go onto
you're
the
so-
ships. So
Bev,
that's where the canal had to
You
end
are
up.
so far beyond what's being talked about, and you keep doing this jumping around thing. It's kind of weird. Understand something. The geodetic, keyword, geodetic points that we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
are not set by a plane surveyor. A plane surveyor needs those benchmarks to establish his own points on a job site. So if you have a point and you need to know where your canal is going to be, where these locks need to be, a plane surveyor is going to find something to reference from. He is not going to go to the a place where he can find sea level, say a beach, or say somewhere that it needs to be referenced from, and take those points every 50 meters to 100 miles into the inland. Understand that. That is why a plane surveyor is different from a geodetic surveyor. The scope of work is different. A plane surveyor does not do the same thing as someone who is establishing these geodetic points.
Okay. So originally then, when they were building the canal in the 1800s and they were taking it, obviously the barges needed to end up at the river because that's where the ships are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So initially when they were doing that, who was setting the points for the canal?
For the construction of the canal,
Yeah, for the initial construction.
plane surveyors off of a geodetic point.
Well, where did the geodetic point come from? Who put that there?
A geodetic surveyor
How
that does
how did they do that?
That does by doing shots and taking elevations and etc. over a very long distance. For instance, you have these geodetic points. In fact, I can show you a picture of one because I've been at one that's over 100 miles from any ocean. And if that's the case,
But the barges have to end up at the river, right? That's where they start off from.
yes, I understand that.
So that's where the initial benchmark for the UK was. Liverpool docks.
Okay, and a geodetic surveyor did that. A plane surveyor used that as a reference, set that geodetic point. A plane surveyor used that geodetic point.
What are you saying? How did that first surveyor that you say is a wondrous geodetic surveyor, right? What is different about what he did when he went that point? What's different to what he did than what all of the plane surveyors are going to do for setting the canal and everything?
He established an elevation to a point far from a sea level for anyone that needs it to reference from. His job is to give a point to reference from. Mm-hmm. A plane surveyor uses that reference point to then do his scope of work, which is much smaller. Again,
right, well, where would that reference point have been?
Wherever a geodetic surveyor plotted a point.
Right, so what is the process that you imagine that the geodetic surveyor goes around to say that point there, right? Because it seems like a pretty easy job, just saying that point. But what does he do? Walk us through the process.
Wait. why? Okay, first of all, I'm not a geodetic surveyor, so I'm only going to give you a very rough scope of what they do to get to that point. The difference is that these geodetic points are all over the world, and plane surveyors, their scope of work is a job site, not these geodetic points. Now, establishing how they establish it is actually makes zero difference besides for you just trying to make the argument different. Understand
I'm just trying to work
that
out
a
what you imagine the difference
geodetic-
is.
it's not about imagining, Beth. It's about reality.
It is,
Doesn't matter
because
what
you've
it
saying
doesn't
the
matter.
plane
It
surveyors
doesn't
do every
matter.
job that does for surveying, but you have to inject geodetic surveyors that just wander around,
Yeah,
that
they just
give
wander
the
around, yeah.
point for the like there.
Yeah, they just wander around and go, "Hey, this looks like a good point." No, what they do
That
is
seems like what you've
they
just said.
establish geodetic points which are referenced to each other geodetic points and sea level, which is a much bigger scope of work, which plane surveyors, which do smaller scopes of work. So, for instance, a plane surveyor is not going to set a geodetic point 100 miles inland somewhere and then decide to reference off of that. Why? Because their scope of work does not do that. Their scope of work is smaller. It's a much smaller area.
You
so
don't
what they
know
do,
what you're talking about.
well, I
Sean.
absolutely know what I'm talking about.
You have not got a fucking clue.
Anybody can go online and look these things up and understand that there's a difference between the two based on scope of work. There's a difference between the two based on what they established.
When they did it in the UK, right, they started off, because we say the initial datum of the entire grid of the UK was set at Liverpool to start off with. It changed later on, but that's where it started off.
Was.
So what they did was they started and they did lines, right? So they went from Liverpool to Preston.
How far is that? How far is that?
It's like, don't worry about that, right?
No,
it's
no.
a line. Don't
Kev,
worry about it. It's a line in a direction, right?
What's the
distance? Let's just say that.
Matters. Again, I've said
so. Let's just say we are going.
How far are those?
Sean, shut the fuck up.
Kev,
they are going in a direction. They have chains, right? So they go horizontal chain distance, right? 66 feet, if you're wondering what a chain is. And it's split into 100s, right? So they take that chain 66 feet at a time and they make it a horizontal distance. So they know how far they've gone. Now, in order to make sure it's a horizontal distance, they have to check the fucking elevation. So they check vertical height and straight line distance. And they keep going in a straight line till they get to where they are going.
How far?
How far? The UK.
You named 2 points.
The UK, Liverpool to Preston, is one of the lines that they did. Now, when they got to Liverpool, right, they then went, let's go from... Sean, shut the fuck up!
How far is the distances?
They went from... Sean, shut the fuck up. They go in one direction from Liverpool to Preston. They go then from Liverpool to Manchester. They then go from Liverpool to Birmingham. They then go from Manchester to Preston. They then go from Birmingham to Manchester. They then go from Manchester to Newcastle. All in lines. They do it all over and they spread out. They get further until they've done the entire UK. Right? Now, it doesn't matter how far, because every time they've done a chain, they've measured 66 feet. And then they do another one, and another one, and another one, and they go in that direction, they can go in that direction, they can put a benchmark down at every point and go from there in any direction they want. That's how they lay down the benchmarks, Sean, in the UK.
Yes, you are correct.
Right.
Now, what is the distance between? Okay, how far across
A
is
chain
the UK
is
that they did this?
66 feet.
No, I'm out. Yeah, but how far did they do this?
Every 66 feet, because that's how
Or how
long a
far?
chain is.
For how far?
For the entire UK. Now, they did
And
it
approximately-
many times.
Yes,
The
and
last time, the third
approximately, how many miles is that?
triangulation of the UK was in the 60s.
Okay, and how far is the mileage of which they did this?
The UK, everything.
Okay, so how far is that? How
Land's
many
End
miles?
to John O'Groats, about 1,000 miles.
Okay, well, a plane surveyor isn't going to do 1,000-mile survey.
They do
A
every
geodetic sur-
66 feet.
Yes, but
Is that a
they did
plane
it for-
surveyor?
They did it for 1,000 miles, and
Yeah,
that
for
is
the
a
entire
geodetic.
UK.
Yeah, a geodetic surveyor does that, not
No,
a
no.
plane surveyor.
It was a plane surveyor that did every 66
Show me.
feet.
Show me.
They're
Show
the
me.
surveyors that they did that. That's what they do.
No. Geodetic surveys did that.
No, there was no such thing then.
Yes, there was.
They were just called surveyors.
Okay,
They
so
are to the day.
Mhm.
Called surveyors, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You must have been told something like from Jesse, right?
No,
Because Jesse
this
liked
is
to
total-
go
this is
around
just-
strutting about
This is
him being
literally
this great.
just reality. Sorry.
Yeah,
The
but
scope-
your reality is
the
information you've accepted. That
No, it's
you
not.
live-
It's reality that I've done. I've been in. I understand that a plane surveyor doesn't do a scope of work of 1,000 miles. A geodetic surveyor does. It doesn't matter if he does it in 66-foot increments. It doesn't matter if he does it in a mile increment. If his scope of work is 1,000 miles over the UK, then a geodetic surveyor does that.
It's
A plane
doesn't
surveyor.
matter about the-
thousands
Yes, it
of
does.
plane
It does.
surveyors.
Yes, that's exactly why I said it's scope of work. When they did that every 66
So the
feet,
combined scope of all of the surveyors that did the job will be called geodetic, according to you.
yeah, geodetic surveys did that.
But it was plane surveyors that did it.
According-
You just
according
put
to
it
just
all
reality.
together and make
It's
it
not just me.
geodetic.
It's not just me.
You're crazy.
It's just how it works.
It's not how it works. Like how it works in
Hey.
your head. But you've just
No.
injected
That's how it
another
works in the-
fucking term.
That's literally how it works in the industry of surveying. Sorry,
Okay, your claim is it's a
not a
geodetic
claim.
surveyor.
not a
what-
claim. That is just how it is. It is scope
Okay.
of work.
Okay, if you say that's what it is, then what do they do?
What do you mean? There's
What's the difference?
One will survey and establish these geodetic benchmarks over 1,000 miles, like Bev just said. A plane surveyor will establish his points over a job site, a small area. Scope of work, exactly what I've been saying this whole time.
They
And
do it for 66 feet at a time, then they can do it as far as they want.
yeah, and if they know they're going to be doing this for the UK, the entirety of the UK, then they're going to hire geodetic surveys who
Well,
do
you
this.
just said a while ago, it doesn't matter if you're going 66 feet or 1,000. It doesn't matter.
If you're going 66 feet in each increment and going over 1,000 miles, geodetic surveyors are going to do so. A
But
plane
what do they
surveyor
do? What do they do
a pla-
different? What would they do different?
stops and benchmarks over 1,000 miles. A plane surveyor does not do surveying over 1,000 miles. Doesn't work the
It's in
same.
66 increments, 66 feet increments.
So you're telling me, so they said, we're going to do this in 66 feet. And then they said, okay, that's it. We're done. Wait, let's decide to keep going.
Increments.
Yeah, increments because you can't do the whole 1,000 at one time. But
Yeah.
it's the scope of work, which was to establish these geodetic points over the whole UK, is a much bigger scope of work than what a plane surveyor does.
Well, then
Sorry.
what would they do different?
The scope of work.
That's not an answer.
It absolutely okay. Here's the difference.
It's
A
like the
geodetic-
mailman, right? The
a
mailman,
geodetic survey,
as
you-
one
you're-
person,
again,
delivers to a few houses, but then as a whole, they deliver to the entire UK. So are we going to have like a great big scope of mailmen that aren't ever achievable, but it's only
Yes.
work's only ever done
Yes,
by little
absolutely.
dudes?
Because one mailman.
So
that
there's no
delivered-
difference.
The mailman that delivered a piece of mail to your house wasn't the mailman that took it from the central hub that just did that distributed it between wherever it needs to go. So there are levels of the mail circuit. Just the same way there are levels to doing surveying. If you don't want to understand it and you just want to play the argument game, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But the funny part is people that will
Argument?
listen to
You've
this,
not come
the
in with
people
anything, Sean.
that will listen to this will understand that when I say scope of work and you talk about how they did this 66 feet over
Yeah.
increments over 1,000 miles,
Yeah,
will
the
then understand in their
entire
head
UK.
the difference between a geodetic surveyor and a plane surveyor.
What about if a different surveyor did every 66 feet?
That would be plane surveying. Why? Because different surveyors did their
Wow.
own little sections, and if you're having one company do it over that scope, then they're geodetic surveyors. You can do that. I could go out.
It wasn't one company that did it. It was the triangulation of the UK was done by many different people and many different surveyors.
Okay, so you're telling me they hired one company to do 66 feet, they hired another company to do 66 feet, or did they hire one company to do 100 miles, another company to do 300 miles?
No, they just had surveyors that did it.
Okay, yeah. Well, sorry, Bev. Under that scope of work, if that's what they were doing, if the job scope of work was to establish these points over the whole and triangulate all over the UK,
yep.
Sorry, buddy. They hired geodetic surveyors to do so.
What did they do different? What did a geodetic surveyor do different?
Scope of work. I don't have to keep saying
like
it.
Scope of work.
Okay, so Bev, how far did each company do? 66 feet?
It's like every time you set a benchmark. I mean, I don't know when they did
how
it.
How far apart are the benchmarks?
The bricks are all over the place. There's a guy that goes around taking pictures of them.
Yeah, and they're guaranteed you they're not a mile apart. They're much further. Most likely 50, 60, sometimes even 100.
Like,
They'd be closer if somebody needed a closer benchmark.
They let's say they do a line and they do every 66 feet, right? Then they do 200 meters, but there's a new bit of land over there where they want a new building site. So all the time, anytime any has a new project, they will put in a new benchmark from one of those old existing ones, and that's how it fans out across the country. It doesn't happen all at once. They didn't go in the 1800s. Let's plot everywhere and put fucking places down. No, they just went from here to there. They're only the places that needed to be known.
So what you're saying is that they went from one benchmark to another benchmark.
They set a new benchmark when they needed to. Yes.
Okay. Guess who did that? Geodetic surveyors.
Just surveyors.
Okay. You can call them just surveyors, but there's a difference.
What's the difference?
Yeah, what's the difference?
A geodetic surveyor is a land survey which corrections made to account for the curvature of the earth in distances over distances. And if you want to know what it is, then you have to adjust for curvature. There are offsets to stuff.
Though,
you should know that.
Yeah, what's 66 feet? What's the adjustment they need to make?
I don't know why you said 66 feet in what I just said.
Because that's a
Or
chain.
How about this? I'll give you this.
Have you never heard of the chains?
Versus.
You ever heard of first order measurements?
Surveyor. Okay.
Did they
mainly
have to do first order? Wait. You have to do first order measurements.
I'm going to give you the exact definition of the difference between the two.
Go on.
It says
this will be
mainly plane surveyors ignore the curvature of the earth, while geodetic surveying considered it. That's one.
Oh.
Two, a plane survey is suitable for small areas, whereas a geodetic surveyor suits for surveying a large area. Three, a geodetic surveyor is more accurate than a plane surveyor. So there are differences between the two. Yeah. Understand that.
When you say a large area, though, I mean, is that large area over 66 feet?
Yes.
Right. So any of the surveying that would have been done with chains must have been by a plane surveyor, according to your
was
rules.
that surveyor, was that 66-foot surveyor all that was done, or was it added on to? Was it just increments, or was that the scope of work? That's what you're not
66 feet at a
understanding.
time. Yeah.
Over what scope of work?
Just like what they do, 166 feet, and then the next 66 feet, and then the next 66 feet. Where is it that you think it changes? At what point?
Technology.
No, but what point does it change into a geodetic?
Knowledge. Oh, scope of work.
Yeah, what's that scope? Go on. Like, is it the second 66 foot?
It's the 1,000 miles that they did.
Well, that's the entire UK. Does it?
So,
Up to
okay,
900 feet then?
Hey, Bev, was there a geodetic point every 66 feet?
There would be a marked elevation point wrote down on the book, wouldn't there?
Yeah.
For the
on the
elevation
book. I asked
of
you a simple.
land.
This is very simple. Is there a geodetic point at every 66 feet?
There would be a mark down on the point of what they're writing down, where the point is. Yes, they would be doing that, wouldn't they?
Okay. Listen.
Do you not know how do you not know how to do surveying?
Listen. Is there a geodetic point established on the ground every 66 feet?
Well, if you have the start of your chain, then you
really
have the end of your chain, and you have to know where the end of the chain is.
Okay.
So yes, you would have to know that.
Do you know what a geodetic point is?
Go on, tell us.
No, I'm asking you because it seems like you don't understand, because I've asked you now 3 times.
You would have.
Very distinctly.
Is it the end of this chain that you're measuring?
Every 66 feet, is there a geodetic
There would be
point
the
set?
end of the chain at 66 feet, Sean.
Okay, and do they establish a geodetic point, a geodetic monument every 66 feet?
Do they fuck? Well, like, what
Yes
the
or
fuck
no?
are you talking about?
Yeah. Do you know what a geodetic point is?
Do you know what the end of a chain looks like?
Okay, okay.
We're getting at cross purposes here, Sean. I think
No, okay.
you're having a laugh with a group of friends, but you're making yourself look like a tit.
I'm definitely not.
Yeah,
You're
yes,
definitely
you
doing
are.
so. And so you understand now, because now at this point it's just getting ridiculous. This is being recorded, and I'm going to play it because it's very clear to me what you're doing. Because I'm asking you a very simple question that you can answer yes or no. You know what a geodetic point is because we've gone over this for the past hour and a half now. Is a geodetic point, a geodetic monument placed every 66 feet of these surveying you said they're doing? The answer is no.
That's what I've said.
Okay, no,
Twice already,
No,
Sean. For fuck's
actually
sake.
did not.
Yes,
You
I
actually
did.
didn't. Okay,
I said
now,
there's the end of the chain at 66 feet. For
Now,
fuck's sake, Sean.
did they do this 66-foot increment and then establish a monument at some point after doing this over and over again? The answer would be yes, because that's how they get to that monument point. That's how they set it. By doing, even if it's every 66 feet, or every foot, every 2 foot, every mile, it doesn't matter. If their scope of work is from one point to get to another point, to set a geodetic point, a monument, then that is the scope of work. Every 66 feet is not the scope of work. They've only did the 66 feet because that's the furthest they can go with the technology or tools they had at that time.
Do you know what first order measurements are?
Are you really trying to avoid understanding
Do
this
you know what
reality?
first order measurements are?
Do you understand that you guys are
He doesn't.
literally avoiding understanding?
No,
what
we're
is
not
being
avoiding
talked about?
anything. Do you know what
are.
first order measurements are? It's first principles.
Okay. Do you understand that there is no geodetic point, monument, placed every 66 feet? They use that
Do you
66
know what
feet.
first order measurements are?
Yes. Now,
Okay.
answer my
Then how do you
question.
do first order
Okay.
measurements over distances?
I will answer your question once we've established that you understand what is actually being said when he keeps saying a chain. I
Yeah,
understand that
first
they're
order
saying,
measurements.
okay, is there a monument? No. Is there a monument at a certain distance and all they've used is that chain to get to that point? Yes. That is a scope of work from one point to the end point. The end point is that monument. That is the scope of work. Now that you understand what a scope of work is, understand.
They use the chains to set those points. First order measurements to get
Yes.
from one
Okay.
benchmark they
Yes.
set.
Oh, so over and over again, they use those over
Wait,
and
wait,
over
wait,
and
wait,
over
wait,
again
wait,
until they get to a
No.
certain.
Sean, let Buster finish.
He's getting angry. Don't watch out.
Yeah.
Enjoy my.
You know
I'm
how he
not
gets.
frustrated. I'm not nothing. This is great.
You sound like
Oh,
you're
okay.
really upset though, Sean.
Yeah.
Buster, go ahead and finish.
It's. I mean, if you start from mean sea level, you got your 0.
Sean,
you-
we've got
you go
a
the-
feedback,
echo.
Sean.
Yeah, feedback. Yeah.
You
You're
feeding
doing that
into
on
somebody
purpose.
Right now, I am.
Yeah.
That's what's going on right now.
else. Yeah, go ahead, Buster.
You start from your mean sea level 0, and then you work your 66 feet to however far you're wanting to go to set another benchmark. It's
You're
first
doing-
order measurements.
Yeah. So you're doing 66 feet, 66 feet, 66 feet, over and over and over again until you get to a certain point.
Yeah, and then you would set another benchmark, so you don't have to do it again.
So
I don't
understand.
understand why we're getting this echo.
Now,
Yeah, it's
that
done.
like literally, my microphone is away from my speakers, so I don't know how it's feedback from me. And
Well,
maybe
I
someone
mean,
else.
it's starting to get real bad.
Okay, then mute someone else who just unmuted themselves because I haven't changed anything, so it's not me. My mic and my
Right.
headphones
It's
are
okay,
two
Sean.
separate things.
Calm down. Calm down.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm completely.
okay.
I haven't called no one a dickhead. I haven't raised my voice.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Well,
I've
nobody's
learned from
been
our past
over talking
conversations.
you all the time, have they? Whenever you
Yeah,
start
actually.
talking, no, they haven't. No.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, so
Okay,
we've
just like you
established
just
that.
did there.
So we established that 66 feet is done. We'll say just for shits and giggles, 100 times over whatever distance. Blah 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 blah. They set a geodetic monument. The people that are doing that are geodetic surveyors because the scope of work isn't just 66 feet. The scope of work is over a long distance, and they set these geodetic benchmarks.
Okay.
So
So
plane
could
surveyor does not do that.
could
Matter of fact,
plane
you
surveyors do it? Like if they keep doing what they do in a certain direction, let's call it differential leveling, rather than just staying on a building site and keep going in a straight
plane
line
sur-
from one town to the other.
No,
Like
plane surveyors don't do that. Geodetic surveyors do. Someone would hire a geodetic surveyor to do that.
right, but could a plane surveyor just go in a straight line?
Sure, why not? As a job, a hire to do so? No.
And would it he then be called a geodetic surveyor?
Again, as a job, a plane surveyor, their company wouldn't do it.
No, I'm not saying a plane surveyor as a company. Would the plane surveyor that works on the smaller bits that says 2 or 3 or 4 66-foot chains, could he keep going in a straight line? Could that very same surveyor just keep going?
Sure, he can. Will he do it as a job? Will he be hired on to do so? Will he take a job to do so? No.
Right, but would if he would take that job on, would he be called a geodetic surveyor?
He would be doing geodetic surveying, yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's the difference?
Scope of work. A plane
Okay,
surveyor,
this goes a
you
bit
would not
further.
if you call a company that does plane surveying and said, hey, I need a benchmark put in from 1 point to 100 miles. Plane surveyors will go, I can give you a reference to some geodetic
No, that wouldn't
surveyors
ever
that
happen
do so.
in the UK,
That-
right? Forget
that's
about
so
that in the
not
UK.
true.
That's never going to
Okay.
happen now,
Hey.
right?
Call a
was
company
just-
and do so. Just
I
call
was
one.
just a few months ago working on a house that had to be above a floodplain at a certain height.
Okay.
And it was just a regular guy who was a surveyor, had his self-employed, licensed to fill out all of the
my
right
God.
forms to get it all in. worked off a benchmark from over a mile away. He said.
Again, I've said this. Maybe you weren't here, Buster. I'm not sure, but I did say very clearly that plane surveyors will use those as references, but they do not set those.
Yeah.
So a guy
it
that's
does seem
licensed
like
just
he's
to be a-
confused.
Matter of fact, I can almost guarantee you that a plane surveying company would not be licensed to set a geodetic point.
Right. Well, when you go, have you ever been to college recently or anything?
Nope, didn't go to college.
No. When you studied, did you see the two different surveying courses?
I didn't go to college for it.
So when
everything was
when you
understood.
heard about it, then right, and you've talked to the surveyors that you've talked to,
Yeah.
do they identify as different types of surveyors?
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
So what
Oh,
do
well,
they say the difference is?
if you're talking about in the field, a plane surveyor is going to call himself a surveyor. A
Yeah.
geodetic surveyor will establish himself as a geodetic surveyor.
Oh, right. So one of them just calls themselves a surveyor.
Yeah, because it's a small scope. It's a very matter of fact. I would say the majority of someone said, "Hey, what do you do?" Surveying. Surveying is what he does. Why? Because in a normal context of talking to people, they don't feel the need to have to be so specific about everything because they're not arguing with someone who thinks they know what they're talking about. There's a difference between this conversation and a conversation you would normally have with any type of person that does surveying, whether it be plane surveying or
Yeah, but
geodetic
why?
surveying.
Right? Because we're just talking about surveyors, right?
We're talking about the difference between two different fields of surveying.
Okay, right. Well, what is the difference? Because you said one works over a larger distance.
Scope of work.
Right, okay.
Can he
But
finish?
we're just talking about 1,600 meters, 400 meters, 200 meters, 600 meters.
Yeah.
What sort of a surveyor
Plane
does
surveyor.
that? Okay, right.
Plane survey.
But plane surveyors, don't they assume all verticals are parallel?
They don't need to. Yeah, I don't. And their scope of work does not need anything further than that. Curvature means nothing to a plane surveyor.
So
Why?
what distance
Because over
does a
small
plane
area
surveyor work to,
of,
in your mind?
we'll say, kind of mile, a square mile. We'll say,
A square mile.
yeah, off the top of my head, yeah.
So if they establish, like we said earlier, 16 different turns of horizontal, that's horizontal.
Okay, sure.
So that would,
We've already done this part. We can
Yeah.
move on from it.
well, yeah, but you've lost 8 inches.
Okay. Again, over 600 meters, you're not losing 8 inches. What are you talking about?
1,600 meters, have you forgotten?
Oh, okay.
Are you-
I'm sorry. You said the last number I heard was 600.
1,600, right?
Okay.
1 mile, you just said. You said it.
And yes, in that situation, they're going to have to use offsets. They're going to have
But
to.
you said it was a
understand-
plane surveyor that uses
Yeah, yeah.
horizontals.
And they're
But
going
like
to
I
have
say,
to
you've
understand.
lost 8 inches.
Yeah. Again, they will have to establish that they're going to be offset. Offset is going to be something that is off of that.
Offset of what?
And again,
What's
they're not-
offsetting?
again.
Have you ever
we're not-
personally
offsetting.
seen anybody do this?
Yes, actually, yes. I've established.
You have?
Oh, well, yes. I can. Do you want to see the sites I did it? I have
I
to.
mean,
What's
you've
offset?
seen-
Don't let him off here.
Here.
What's
Okay,
offset,
let me show
Sean?
you.
When these plane surveyors work over a square mile,
Let me show you what I'm
what
talking
is the
about.
offset that they have to adjust for? An offset from what?
Well, that's what I was asking. He's like, if he's seen it done, what are they? Yeah, what's the? Yeah,
Sean,
Okay, so understand
what's the offset,
that
Sean?
if these guys are doing it over this course,
What's the
we're
offset,
not
Sean?
talking. We're not talking about
What's the
a
offset,
flat.
Sean?
Yeah.
We've come down to a plane surveyor working on a square mile, but you seem to have lost 8 inches. Where's the offset? Where does it occur?
anything beyond your horizontal.
What horizontal? We've just done
The
16
that
turns.
the horizontal that you keep saying you established,
Yeah.
anything that shows up unperpendicular to it, and it would need to be set right, is an offset. So if at 1,600 meters, or at 800 meters, you've established a horizontal line, and then you understand how the Earth works, and it's not on a perfectly flat pad, you have to understand that they're going to be offset. That means that parallel line that you've established that's running along your horizontal is going to be different, yet the elevations will need to stay the same.
You're waffling again, Sean.
No, not.
Yeah,
I
you are.
literally just explained it perfectly fine.
Okay, well, let's say we go a mile and we set a new benchmark there after a mile. Obviously using plane surveying techniques because we've only gone through a mile.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
like
some other dude comes on and goes, "Oh, there's me one. I'll start off from this one. I'm only a plane surveyor. I'll only go a mile." And he goes a mile and he goes back and he checks it, to close your loop, to make sure it's exact. And you go like, "Yeah, that's good." And then he goes off, and then the other guy comes back and goes, "Oh, it's a bit further on. I'm only a plane surveyor. I'll keep going." And like, there's no adjustment ever made. Like, how does that occur?
We've already established that you're not willing to use a hypothetical of your beliefs because you don't want to. But the reality of it is I've overly explained the difference between the two, and whether or not you want to realize it is beyond me. That's not my problem at all.
Yeah, your beliefs are amazing.
It's not a belief.
Yeah, of course it is.
The difference between it,
You've got full of beliefs.
I've
been telling you exactly what would happen in reality, right?
No, you're not.
You've been telling us exactly what would happen with plane surveyors on a local type level, and you only go 1 mile. But I mean, it's not 1 mile, is it?
First of all,
you haven't read the books properly, obviously.
Yeah, I have. And in any situation, everything's done in sections with a plane surveyor. They wouldn't do the scope of a whole mile. Same thing you're saying like there. The difference between the two is scope of work. And for whoever keeps saying, you said you've seen it, I never said I saw them do this. I said, you asked me, what would be the scope of work for a plane surveyor? The largest, I gave you an idea off my head. I never said I did it. I never said I saw someone doing it. And
You're
the
just
difference
making it
between,
up. I know.
Sounded like you did.
No, well, I'm pretty sure Bev's recording it. I'm recording it, so you'll hear it eventually at some point. And
That's
you can
cool.
go over these arguments. Because again,
I just asked if you'd experienced it or seen it, and you said yes. And I mean, you said you want me to show you.
No. What? No. I said that I've done it with offsets, and you said, "When did you do this?" And I said, "I can show you the sites." And then Bev asked me,
You've
"What
never
would be the
even
largest
told us where the
area?"
offsets would occur. You've just now said you've done them.
Over any distance, any distance that comes off your perpendicular, your horizontal, you would have to do an offset. So if I'm doing, starting at a 0, and I have a cut and fill that's 100 yards away, and I want that to be at 1%. And at the very end of it, I need another measurement for another pad that's going to fall a different way at 1%. I will establish the offset between the 2 points. I don't know if you've never done it, Bev. I don't know if you're purposely not understanding it. But the reality of it is that an offset is actually a very simple thing to do. An offset is a very simple thing to understand.
I know what degrees are and how that works for horizontal.
Okay, that's not what I just said. I said offsets. I explained to you exactly how that is established, and you act like I didn't say any of that stuff.
Explain to everybody else what the offset is.
I literally just did. If you were talking or you were purposely not
listening, you said one degree of slope. Right?
I said one.
Come on, slope.
Yeah, 1 degree of slope, and then you went somewhere else and you had another 1 degree of slope, and then you had an offset. Oh, did you not know?
At one point, and I have a site that that I'm grading out for a cut and fill, and one end I'm going to have a 1% fall, and then I'm going to have another pad that comes off of it coming in a different angle, different direction of fall for drainage, and I want to establish the 2 points from one end to another. Between the two, I would establish the offset. If I'm going to know what the offset is, I'm going to need a bunch of different points that I've already established. So to give you a number now is just irrational. If you don't understand that, so for you to not understand that part of it, makes me understand that
calm down,
explaining further is impossible.
Going into the ramble mode.
No, sounds like a non sequitur.
I'm literally not.
We're going first order measurements on a horizontal.
part-
Now you're talking
wait,
about slope.
What part
about
is
slopes
no?
and
What part
paths
is
and
non
cut and
non
fills.
sequitur? Because you asked me about an
'Cause-
offset.
No. We
No,
were
you
talking
didn't.
about horizontals.
Wait.
First
Bev,
order measurements.
Did you not ask me what an offset was?
No, we were talking
Oh.
about a horizontal that is established by a plane surveyor over a
So no
square
one here
mile.
asked me-
That would
no one
be
asked
a
me about an offset
horizontal surface, and you said you would have to adjust with an offset. And I said, an offset to what?
What is that?
On a
No, you said, what is that?
horizontal. Yes,
So
no
no-
slope, Sean.
no one asked
just a
me-
horizontal. That's what we were talking about.
Okay,
You've
well, then
got
if
really
you don't-
confused
Okay, how about
and
this?
gone
How
off
about
and
this,
started
Steph?
talking about
No, I
slopes and
really
stuff.
didn't.
Yeah, you
No,
did.
I just gave you an-
yeah,
I gave you
you
an
went
example.
way off
I gave
talking about
you an
slopes
example
and pads
of a
for cut
situation
and fill
where
when we were
I
talking
would
about a
need to
horizontal
use
plane.
offsets. Okay, you asked me to give you an example of when I've used it. I gave you an example.
No,
If you
I
don't like it,
asked
that's
you.
not my problem.
I asked
Let's-
you,
Let's
Sean.
do this conversation
Sean,
at 2 minutes
I
ago,
asked
so anyone
you,
listening
Sean,
can go back 2
Sean,
minutes and hear
Sean,
them ask me over
Sean,
and over again.
Sean,
what an offset
Sean,
is.
Sean, I asked you about the horizontal plane established by the plane surveyor. You said after a mile he would have to adjust for offsets. And I said,
I said
offset
after
of
eight- I
what? Then you rambled on about something else and diverted, and then you decided to come back to that offset and not talk about the horizontal plane that we were initially talking about. You went to slopes and cuts and fills and 1 degree stuff, that isn't what we were talking about. You were rambling on about an offset for a 1 mile square horizontal plane that you'd lost 8 inches from somewhere, but we don't seem to know where that is.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, we don't have points, and knowing where it is and the numbers don't even make sense.
Mhm.
That's why I've tried to explain to you this. That's why I gave you my analogy of when I've used an offset. And if you don't like it, that's not my
Yeah,
problem.
that's fine, Sean. Like, we do know, right? There are no globe surveyors. Jesse Kozlowski disappeared. The guy from Maine.
think
He's
there's
done
no-
a runner. Now you've come along,
Why
Sean.
do you always bring up other people? This is a meeting
Because they're the
conversation. I
ones
don't
that have
care.
done a runner, Sean.
Okay. Well,
They're the
guess
ones,
what?
they're the actual
I-
ones that first started the big lie about surveying. Now, all we've been left with is you.
Oh, okay. If that's your opinion of it, that's your opinion of it. But we're
Jesse
talking about-
Kozlowski.
but what
Jesse
we're doing
Kozlowski
is
said
talking
it's
about the
measurable.
reality.
The 8 inches per mile squared drop of the water level from the horizontal. That's measurable, he said.
Well, it wouldn't be 8 inches, first of all. And the distance
That's what
you're
Jesse
talking about.
Kozlowski said. That's
Okay,
also what
so-
that guy from Maine said.
So over a 600-meter water level, it's not going to be 8 inches. What he's trying to explain, and maybe this is the problem that you're
Why are
not
you talking
understanding.
about a 600-meter water level? Why
doesn't
did
matter.
you say that?
Didn't you just say that?
No. You keep
Okay.
thinking about it. Is somebody
So
telling you?
when
Is
he
somebody
talks
feeding
about-
you numbers?
When he talks about the 8
8
inches,
inches per mile squared. Yeah, he talks about 8 inches per mile squared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That doesn't change the
He
fact
says
that there's
it's
a difference between
measurable.
geodetic surveying. It is.
How measurable and what distance is it measurable over?
Over from guesstimating, because I'm not looking at a machine, from about 400 meters to a mile, you will start to see it. Again, it's not just 8 inches. It's not like a freaking vertical
So
wall.
it's measurable at 400 meters then.
Yeah, you will start to see drop.
How much would be measurable?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah,
But it's
but there
definitely
is-
measurable, right? The drop from
Yep.
horizontal.
Have you tried? Have you shown it's not?
Yeah.
No. You have?
Yeah.
When?
Because a drop from horizontal is an elevation change, isn't it?
No, not if you're using it. If you're using the situation of, like, say, your water level, because you know the 2 points aren't.
I
there's no
find it
elevation drop
hard for
between
you
them.
to pretend to be a surveyor and then just disregard a drop from horizontal not being an elevation change, because it quite obviously is. And that's what would be measurable.
Luckily, I keep saying this. If you're using a water level, you know the 2 points is not the fact that you're using a water level voids all elevation talk that you're talking about, because you know the 2 points are at the same elevation, correct? So if there is drop, which you actually haven't checked for, you just say you know it's not there. That's not verifying anything. Then you can talk about this. Talk about it when you've established that there is no drop. How about that? Because I've asked you numerous times to verify that there is no drop, and you tell me you don't need to. It's not your problem. Hey, fine. It's not your problem. If you don't want to, okay, perfect.
Definitely.
But the
When you
reality
have a water level,
but the
right?
reality of it is, if you're going to say
Sean.
there is no drop,
Yeah.
you've had to have verified there's no drop.
Yeah. Right. When you get a water level, there is no drop. Each end
How did you
is
verify that?
neither higher nor lower than the
Elevation
other.
wise, you're right. Elevation wise, there is no difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you verified that using a means besides your eyeballs?
Yeah.
Okay, what?
Oh, the water level.
Okay, so you set the water level up, and then if someone's saying, if you you create that horizontal line that establishes from 1 point, you've done this and verified there is no drop.
Yep. The
With
other
what?
end of the water level will neither be higher nor lower than the other end. Yes.
And what did you use to verify that?
The water level.
Okay, the water level, you verified that it's at the same elevation.
Yep.
What have you how have you verified?
That means
there is
one
no-
end is
Oh,
neither
okay.
higher
I
nor
see.
lower
Okay.
than the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a test that establishes elevation level. Now, if you want to talk about if there's curvature or not, you're going to have to go beyond just the water level, Bev. If you don't want to, that's fine. I can give two shits if you want to verify that or not. But the reality of it is that you can then verify whether or not there's curvature using that water level. It's up to you if you want to verify that or not. But just the water level does not void curvature.
Okay then.
Sorry.
Well, let's just go right for ease of trying to sort this out. In your head, there's a water level. It's 400 meters long, right? Now, point A to point B. The shortest distance between those 2 points would be a straight line, right? You give us that geometrically. Yeah, Sean?
Yeah, I said yes.
Right, okay. Then, if you put a point in the middle of that water level, would it lie on that line?
If you, I'm so confused what you just said. So if you establish a straight line between the 2 points,
Mm-hmm.
you
The
understand
shortest
that's,
distance between those 2 points would be a straight line.
and then you establish a horizontal line. Will
No,
it line up? Is that what you're asking?
Would the center of the water level lie on that line?
On the straight line?
Yes.
Yes, but that's not a straight line. Is not the same as a level line. It's not the same as a
But
horizontal
that's where the
line that you've
water level
created.
would be, on that
Okay.
straight line.
And you understand when someone says create a horizontal line from 1 point, you understand that that means a line that is horizontal from 1 point. And if that's the case, then those will not line up on that line. I can say that because I know it. Now you keep telling me it won't. I asked you numerous times, have you done it to verify that? You keep saying no. So in my guides, all you've done
What are you
is
talking
establish
about? I
that
keep saying no.
level
You keep
is
saying
level.
yes. Right? I've done this test.
No, okay. So you took the water level, you set it up, you knew they were right, so you knew one end to the other was level, correct?
Yeah, a water level, right?
Mhm.
If you, like I've just explained to you, from A to B, shortest distance between those 2 points, right? It's horizontal.
It's much easier if we just play the answer that question game. So
Right. Well, I'm
One
telling
point
you.
to the next point is
Yep.
level. We know this, right? We know that the same elevation, right?
From A to B, yes. Over 400
Okay.
meters, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Shortest
Now-
distance
now,
between those 2 points is a
If you
straight
want
line.
to talk about, whether or not it
The
is
bit in the middle.
elevation change or curvature,
Would the bit
you
of the
would have
water
to
level in the
establish
middle of those
a
2 points be on the same
horizontal line.
straight line?
Bev, have you done
Yes, it
anything
would be.
besides set up the water level and look at it?
Yes, we've done loads.
Okay. What have you done besides just set up the water level?
Right, we've done logic first, then we did
No,
geometry,
I'm not asking.
then we
Okay,
did the
I'm asking
practical
you a
test of it.
simple.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is very
logic,
simple.
geometry,
verify-
practical.
You can either verify there's no drop, or you can verify there's no drop.
There's
and I
no
can tell you
drop.
right now
There's no
that
drop.
you for setting a straight line
There's
from one
definitely no
point to
drop.
another is okay. That's an even better one. So if you set this line between the straight line between the 2 points, and
Yeah.
that means
Are
you
you
would
not?
start
Are
at one
you not
point.
going to do this
That
test?
means
Sure.
you would. I've already made it very clear when it comes to this flat Earth and this whole testing.
This isn't.
It's
This has
low
got nothing to
on
do
my
with flat
totem
Earth.
pole
Sean,
of doing.
if you
what
have a flat
I
Earth
have to
obsession,
do.
that's fine by
So
you.
I do.
Like we're just dealing in
Oh, no,
reality
you
here,
have no
Sean.
idea, Bev. It's obsession. Absolutely not. I've made it very clear over the past year and a half. I can give a shit less. I'll disappear right now and not get fucked. I'm
Yeah.
only here because some of us bored and have decided to talk.
No,
We're
no
just here
test,
talking
Sean.
about reality, Sean. So don't get stressed and
Oh, I'm
watch
not.
what you're talking
That's-
about your
That's
models,
the
right?
best part.
Watch what you're doing.
Because at any other conversation we've had,
Mhm.
I haven't blown up. I haven't been angry. I haven't
Mhm.
cussed at you. Like it's literally as
I've
calm as
not
it
done that
gets.
to you, right? And I
Yes, you
also
told me-
haven't
You called
brought
me
up
a dickhead
flat
3
Earth
times
because
You've actually blown up at me 3 times.
yeah, because you
So
keep
can
over
I ask
talking
a
us.
question?
You need
Pretty
to calm down,
obviously.
not me. Yeah, because
Can
if
I,
I ask
can I ask a question?
go ahead.
Yeah, Sean. So when are you gonna do your test?
When I feel like doing it.
So never.
When I feel like doing it.
Okay, so give or take in the next year or two,
If
you
it
will not
happens,
be doing. You will not be doing the
if I
test.
happen
Why are you
to
over
have the
talking me?
time, because I'm answering the
Hello?
question. If I
Hello?
have the time or care to do it, then I will do it. But otherwise,
So
I can
I'm
name
gonna
name
coin this.
1,000 things
I'm gonna coin
better to
this as
do than a test to make you
you would
happy.
never do the
Okay?
test that you
Okay.
said you was gonna do
Yeah,
last
and
time you was
will
here.
guess not.
Right?
If that's what you want to
Right?
think, then you can live your life thinking that. In my world,
No.
I can give a shit less about how you feel about what I'm doing.
Okay. So
Okay.
the best
So
answer
so
is,
now
are you gonna
can
overtalk me now?
Yes, because now the
Now,
conversation that you're at,
hold up. I'm gonna ask you a question. Are you ever gonna do the test? That's all I want to know. Yes or no?
did you ever hear me say I wasn't going to? Yes, I will do the test when I have the time to do it and I give the fuck to do it. Is that good enough?
Okay. So
Okay.
no,
So now,
no.
Ben,
Will it be?
we can
Will
continue
it
our
be?
conversation.
Why are you
Don't
over
ask-
talking
hey,
me? I let you get it out.
You're asking me the same
Listen.
question 6 times,
Just
and I'm not
listen.
answering it every time you ask me. I've answered it. So if your
Just
question is
listen.
going to reference the
Triggered.
test, it's not really necessary.
triggered.
I'm
So
definitely
triggered.
not. You're fun.
Okay.
Okay, Bev, do you
Get
want
it
to
out.
continue on?
Get it out.
You're done with that.
So you're never gonna do the test, right?
You're going to ask me this question 6 more times?
I want you to
Go
make
ahead,
sure.
Just get it out of your system.
Get it in stone. Get it in recording.
I've already answered that twice now. It's recorded on Bev's end and my end. So it's been answered. You done?
So it won't
Okay.
happen in a year.
So,
Won't
Bev,
happen in a year.
do you want to have this conversation or? So, I mean, are we going to just do circles? If we're doing circles, I'm done.
Bye.
Bye. You're fun.
I know.
I
You
know.
came here.
I did, and I was having a conversation, and we've been talking for a very long time. It's
You've
taking this
been-
course. We're doing
You've been
circles.
talking shit about people's professions, right?
Yeah, you've been talking shit about people's professions that
I
are
haven't
actually
been
being
talking
done.
shit about
There are
anybody's
actually people
professions.
that wait. Are you saying that Jesse is the only geodetic survey on Earth? Or is it actually a profession that you just think doesn't exist?
No, I'm saying Jesse isn't a real surveyor.
Okay, so are you saying that there are
I'm
no
saying
geodetic
Jesse
surveyors?
isn't a real
Oh,
surveyor.
I
Yes,
don't
that's
care
exactly
about
what I'm
Jesse.
saying.
I made that
You
clear a
asked
long time
us.
ago. I didn't ask you anything about it.
Yes,
I
you
don't
did.
care.
You said, is
I've never
Jesse the only geodetic surveyor
Yes,
on the
because you
planet
said
or whatever?
because
Some
you
fucking
said
stupid thing.
you
So don't say
said
you didn't
that
bring him
you
up when it
said
was you.
that Jesse's the one who spread this lie that there's a
I
difference.
didn't say
So
that.
you didn't. Okay, okay.
You
It's
just said
recorded.
it. Do you think
No,
Jesse said
it's
that?
definitely recorded, Beth.
I said
Anyway,
Jesse
okay.
isn't a
How
real
about this?
surveyor.
So, are there no geodetic surveyors on Earth?
Like,
Well, you never clarified what a geodetic surveyor
Yeah.
was.
I did. I Buster, I did. I actually,
Scope of work. Scope of work.
no,
Scope of
no.
work. That
Yeah.
was it.
No, I
Yeah.
gave you three differences between plane surveying and geodetic surveying. I read it for you guys. If you weren't listening, go back and record it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I did. I literally did give you three
all right.
examples.
So
or
are
three
you saying that
variations
every
of geodetic.
surveyor is a geodetic surveyor?
Is that what I said?
Are you saying that there are no geodetic
Okay.
surveyors?
Beth, that's my question.
Or are you saying that every surveyor is not a plane surveyor? Or can you prove that not every surveyor isn't a geodetic surveyor?
I didn't say anything like that. I'm asking you a simple question. Are there geodetic surveyors on this earth?
It's a profession, right?
Are there geodetic surveyors on this earth?
It's a profession, right? I would presume if it's a profession, there are definitely people who have that profession. Yes.
As geodetic surveyors. Okay.
Yes.
Are there plane surveyors?
There are surveyors, for fuck's sake.
No. Okay. In the industry, are there geodetic surveyors and plane surveyors?
The land surveyors. The
Are
quantity
so-
surveyors. There are shit surveyors.
Are there a profession, a title of geodetic surveying?
What the fuck is this, Sean? Like, seriously, dude.
Yeah, I know it's
Get
kind
a
of weird
grip
that you can't
of
answer
yourself.
that. I'm as confident. I'm actually. I think this is funny. I'm giggling my ass off right
Yeah, because you're wasting your time. You're not
now. I'm
getting
wasting my-
anywhere.
Okay. Bev, is there a profession
Oh, for
called geodetic
fuck's
surveying?
sake, Sean.
You won't
This
answer
is
the question.
boring.
Just answer the question.
Yes,
Sean,
there's fucking
thank you.
surveyors. There's a
Okay.
fucking
Okay.
profession.
No.
For
You saying
fuck's
surveyors?
sake.
Is there?
There's also magicians, Sean. That doesn't
Yeah.
make magic
Wait,
real.
wait, wait.
Yeah,
Are
you're
you
right.
asking this question based on your worldview?
No, I'm asking this
Like,
question.
what
on
is the
reality.
point of the question?
Yeah.
To
Yes,
establish-
people do that as a
establish-
job, right?
Yeah,
What
geodetic
do
survey.
you think it is?
Yes, there is a profession.
Right,
that
so
are
what is it?
geodetic surveyors.
What is it?
And there is also
Is
a
there
profession.
is there a
of-
profession of
in the
geodetic
industry.
surveyors?
Yeah, there is an industry of geodetic surveyors.
okay.
That is separate of plane
They're
surveyors.
not separate at all.
Okay.
Cackling like a
So
witch.
so then why is there something called a geodetic surveyor?
That's what we
Because it's a
asked you.
profession.
Why are there magicians? Just because there's magicians doesn't mean that magic is real. You're trying to make an argument based on a profession that you believe they're measuring a curved straight line.
Are you telling me that that geodetic surveyors aren't real? Is that what you're saying?
Holy shit.
Are you saying that?
Sean,
what do you-
wait a
can you
minute.
prove-
Wait a minute.
can you prove
Sean,
it?
do you think
prove it,
the
yes, I can
very
go online
fact
and
that
show
people
you
have a
geodetic companies.
fucking job, right? People have a job called geodetic surveyor. Does that mean
Yes.
something to you?
Yes.
What does it mean?
It means their scope of work is bigger. Or wait,
means-
better than scope of work.
It
Hang
means
on.
there's a profession of a people.
Let me do
right?
it again. Would you like me to read the
Go on.
definition again? But the differences between a plane surveyor and a geodetic surveyor again? I can do it right here.
Go on,
I have it in my front of my
out of
screen.
the dictionary. Where's
Okay.
this from?
Number one.
Where's this
This
from,
is-
Sean?
It said I am on. I don't know what website it is. Let me click on it real quick. This is from
Post
Oh,
it.
this is just it's
Post
called
it.
differenceBetween.com. So it's telling
Oh,
you
the
the difference
differences
between things.
between, right?
But I
So
can go to.
is
Would you
this
like me to go? Wait. Would you
yeah.
like me to go to a more professional site? I mean, I can.
Yeah. Go to a
Okay.
university surveying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Post it.
Go to a university course and check for surveying, and then tell us the difference between plane surveying and geodetic surveying. You won't be able to because there's only one. They're all nowadays called geodetic surveyors, strangely enough. And they all just do surveying, strangely enough.
Let's see. Is I'm just looking at the links right now. University of Utah Valley University. Is that good enough? No. I can go to another one. I can find that. Um, let me see.
Who are you talking to?
He's talking to his team.
I thought
Who's he
reading a
laughing
reference, John.
Oh, I'm trying to find a site that you guys will think is legitimate
So you
enough.
say you weren't using a legit reference earlier?
Well, I was using a site called differencebetween.com, and it says difference between plane surveying and geodetic surveying.
So that's not the one you want to use now, though, right?
Oh no, I'll use it. But you said you wanted me to look for something else. Would you like me to?
No, you said
Here, I'll post this
you were
link.
talking to yourself, and you said you were talking to yourself and said you convinced yourself to use a different source.
I'll use this source. I don't mind this source at all. Okay, and this one's actually a little bit more detailed. So it says plane surveying. Plane surveying is a branch of surveying in which the surface of the earth is considered a plane surface. This is most commonly practiced form of surveying. This is used for the extent of an area to be surveyed in a small area less than 260 square kilometers. As a
What?
method,
Whoa! How far?
Hang on.
260 square kilometers?
Yeah. So hang on.
That's a bit
As the
different than a
method,
square mile, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. The method negates the curvature of Earth. In order to make the calculations, normally triangles are formed on the ground, and these triangles are also assumed as plane triangles. In the rule of
260
in the rules of plane triangles are used to do the composition. The area to be surveyed and the error associated in surveying results are positively correlated. That is more than the area, or collaborated. That is more the area, more the error. So this method is not suitable for more accurate and precise large area surveying. Normally, plane surveying is usually for engineering projects. Normally, surveyors are survey for locations and construction of railroads, highways, canals, and landing fields are categorized under this method. Then it goes to geodetic surveying.
Mm-hmm.
Geodetic surveying is another branch of surveying in which the curvature of the earth is considered when taking measurements on Earth's surface. This is an actual spherical shape of Earth, and it is taken into account. This is also known as, damn, that's a big one. What is that? What is that? Trigonometrical surveying. Triangles form a spherical triangle, and calculations are made using spherical geometry. Trigonometry, whatever that word was. Trigonometry. In this method, measurements are taken using high precision instruments. This method is used to determine and establish control points for other surveyors. That's the geodetic points, our monuments, and to long lines and areas. The position of a geodetic station is expressed using longitude and latitude and global positioning systems, and is normally used for these purposes. Now, there are other differences. Would you like me to read those? It says, what are the differences between plane surveying and geodetic surveying? Though both plane surveying and geodetic surveying are methods of making measurements on Earth, they are having some distinguishing features. Mainly, number one, mainly plane surveying ignores the curvature of the Earth, while geodetic surveyors consider it. Number two, plane surveying is suitable for small areas whereas geodetic surveying suits for surveying a large area. Geodetic surveying is more accurate than plane surveying. Number 4, triangles formed in a plane surveying are plane triangles, but triangles formed in a geodetic surveying are spherical triangles. Number 5, geodetic stations are a huge distance compared to stations formed by plane surveying. Scope of work. Number 6, moreover, plane surveying uses normal instruments like chain, measurement tape, theodolites, etc. to locate points on Earth, while geodetic surveying uses more precise instruments and modern technology like GPS. Let's see if there's anything. No, that's it. So yes, there's very much so a difference between the two. I've read this whole thing. I'll put the link in the chat. So if you want to go over it with
what
Dan,
we can get from that is that plane surveyors go for small areas up
Yes.
to 260
Scope
square
of-
kilometers.
Scope of work.
And they also use theodolites and auto levels and all of that. So if you're ever using one of those tools where you're sighting anything and you're doing it within 260 square kilometers, then you'd be doing plane surveying, right?
Well,
That's
what I
what it
thought was
said.
funny was that the plane surveying encompassed pretty much all of surveying. Like it gave
Everything.
references,
Yeah.
railroads, canals,
Yeah.
everything. But when you got to
Engineering.
geodetic, it was just like it's just what's done.
Okay, let me. Oh, you want? So you
They
want to
just do
know
the points,
what
right?
work they do?
They just do the points.
And you
Yes,
do realize,
mainly, yeah.
second, GPS wouldn't exist without first order measurements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hang on.
Yep.
So your new technology wouldn't exist without the old first order measurements.
So,
They only use
scope
total
of
stations
work.
then.
All right, so
No,
this is
that's
the scope
cited.
of
That
work.
would be you
And
can't
this
use a
is
total
civil-
station above 260 kilometers. So that
So
would
this
be
is
plane
civil
surveying a
work-
total station.
Again, it's the area of work. So if you're say putting these points over 1,000 miles, like you were saying, yeah.
Who said
plane survey wouldn't do
1,000
it.
miles? Sean,
So you said the
who
UK,
said
right?
it?
That was
No, we're talking under. We definitely
so-
stay in under 260 square kilometers.
plane- okay,
that's
plane
where
survey.
we're dealing,
Okay,
right?
surveying is let me see,
You
where
also,
is
right?
the scope of work of a geo.
Oh man.
It's not how far you
Flights are,
drive
as
in
we
your car,
know.
you know. Like it's.
You're right. I know.
Right,
What
well,
you're saying,
260 square kilometers. I mean, how big's the biggest project you've ever worked on?
Definitely not that big.
No.
A lot
What
smaller.
would that be? A bit bigger than a housing estate?
Oh yeah, much bigger than that.
Right. Okay. So,
But I was also
and would
establishing
that
a topo, so that's a little
260
different.
square kilometers be in a straight line? Could all of those, like, if you're doing a canal, would it be? Could it be
Right,
1
again,
kilometer
that might be the
wide
scope
and
of work.
260 kilometers long? Do you reckon?
So canals don't. The guys that do planar surveying that don't account for curvature,
yeah.
they do canals, right?
Yep.
Yep, in sections.
Yep.
Scope of using surveying. I'm trying to find the scope of work.
260 kilometers.
Mhm.
What's that equate to in miles?
Oh, you could definitely get that 27-mile section that
There you
we've
go.
got here within
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So it says geodetic surveys are employed for larger areas and for determining the determination of accurate positions of widely distant points on the surface of the Earth, which ultimately form control points. Again, like I was saying, a geodetic survey sets those control points, benchmarks, monuments, whatever you want to call it.
When
Whereas
they
a
did the canal in the 1800s, they definitely didn't have GPS to
No,
set
they
control
definitely did
points.
not.
No.
They definitely did, but they also did.
So they would have
How
had just
long is that
plain
canal?
surveying, right?
So no. Well, the plane surveys would have had to come off a point, and a geodetic surveyor would be the ones that put those points. Like you said, whether it was every 6 feet, they're the ones who ultimately, like it says, ultimately form control points, or other types of surveying to be conducted between these points.
Mhm.
So a plane surveyor would do his job, and then he would hopefully one day do his job well enough he could say, "I want to be a geodetic surveyor. I'm going to step it up a notch to check
Yes,
my old
absolutely.
work."
I would think
Oh,
so. Yeah.
Wow.
No. A geodetic survey doesn't check plane surveyors' work.
Oh, but the plane surveyors do 260 square miles.
Mm-hmm.
But the geodetic surveyor comes back and checks it.
No, a geodetic surveyor sets those points,
How?
which the plane survey, with whatever tools they have, that they're established to do those points. That's control points.
It's pretty
and then,
ambiguous.
Oh, it's not. Again, I mean, if you want to
It is.
if you want to only listen to certain parts of what I read, it's fine. But the main difference is that a geodetic surveyor are the ones that set these benchmarks, set these control points, whatever you want to call them. I like to call them monuments. And a plane surveyor works off of those. When I say works off of those, meaning if he needs to, if they're setting up a job.
How does a plane surveyor work within 260 square kilometers? How does a plane surveyor work within those things, do first order measurements, but they have to work off a geodetic surveyor that doesn't do those short distances? But you're saying they set those distances, but you're not saying how they set them.
So you want to know how they set a control point now?
No, they just do. We know that. Don't ask him. We just get a mean sea level and you work out from there. And it's all plane surveying. That's it. That's all you've got, because that's the only place that local surveyors work. Locally, with the tools that they're using.
Plane surveyors don't set control points. Plane surveyors don't set. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Surveyors do it. Right, you're making a distinction. You're making some superstar distinction between different types of surveyors.
It's a superstar distinction, but in reality, it's the job scope of the two. The difference between the two. I just read it was so. There's a whole industry that set these control points that are lying and calling themselves something different, and you're saying
they all call themselves geodetic surveyors. Every one of them.
No, a plane surveyor doesn't.
No, yeah, they do. They all call themselves geodetic surveying, and they just survey locally.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard a plane surveyor call himself a geodetic surveyor ever.
Right? How many people? How many surveyors have you talked to?
I've never read.
How many surveyors have you talked to?
Ever that's a plane surveyor? Oh, lots, and never personally. Not just Jesse's, like people I know, people I've worked with, people. My father that taught me. It's literally
what was
the very simple aspect of this.
What sort of surveyor was your dad?
Plane surveyor. He was
surveyor.
Not a geodetic surveyor. Never claimed to be a geodetic surveyor. Never implied to be a geodetic surveyor. So that's why when you say that they all call themselves geodetic surveyors, that's a lie.
Now they do, yes.
No, they don't.
Back in the day when your dad was surveying, if he was a surveyor, back then
he was a surveyor.
Right, but there wouldn't have been geodetic surveyors. Because
there
was no GPS. There was no GPS when I was surveying at college.
Didn't do it in the 1800s.
When I was at college, right, and I did it. I didn't do geodetic surveying. I didn't do plane surveying. I did land surveying. Like all of the surveyors. They just survey the land. There's no difference.
And I'm assuming you passed the course, you got your certificate and everything, right?
I've got a certificate on the wall,
Okay. Are you allowed to set a control point?
It's just land surveying,
data point.
for fuck's sake.
No, but it's a simple question. Are you
Can I move the datum?
No, that's not what I asked you.
But no, look, dude, no, I cannot set trig points. No, Sean.
Are you
Stop asking. No, Sean.
Okay. So why? Okay.
For
so you went to school for surveying. You went to school for surveying.
The triangulation points, they're already set.
All surveyors are the same thing, but yet you're not certified to set these points.
Because they're triangulation points for the national grid. Right, for the triangulation points for the entire country, you would get told off, wouldn't you? You're not allowed to move them, are you?
I didn't say move them. I said set one. That means the people.
Well, you'd have to get rid of one to fucking set one, you dickhead.
What?
They're triangulation points. They're already established.
Are you telling me there's only one geodetic point in UK?
Shit.
No, there's not. There's a lot. You already said so.
Like, Have I not just
Okay,
said there's
who-
a load of
who put
points, the
this-
triangulation points?
Who?
Why are
okay,
you
who
saying
put
there's only
this-
one, Sean? What's up with you?
I never said. You said. I never once said there was one.
Yes, you did. You just
I
asked
said-
me. Did
I
I
asked
say
you-
there's only one? Why would you be saying
I
that?
asked you.
I said there's
The
only
only
one.
thing
Did
I
you say
asked
there's
you-
only one? Why do you
only
say
thing I
there's
asked
only
you-
one? You seriously
I
don't
never
think
did.
there's only one, Sean? Why?
funny. I've never said
Fucking
there was
hell,
only
that's
one.
terrible, Sean. Imagine
I
thinking
never
that.
said there was one. Okay, so Bev, are you telling me that you're certified to set one of those points? And again, when I say one of those points, I mean,
Are
if
you
you're on a
telling
job
me
and
that
you can
you're
do the-
not certified to set one of those?
No, only a geodetic surveyor would be.
Okay. Right. Well, if you've just heard me say no, right? So I can ask
Yep.
you again. Are you saying, Sean, that you can move one
So
of
now
those
that you
points?
said-
Are you saying you can set one of those points? Seriously, Sean?
No, no, I'm not
No.
certified at all
No.
enough to do
Well,
that.
I'll
And
just
neither are
pretend
you.
I didn't hear you
Okay.
saying. Sean,
Perfect.
are you
Okay.
saying that
Perfect.
you could
Perfect.
set one of those things? Are you saying that you've
No,
been
I can't.
qualified to be able to set
I'm
one of
not
those?
qualified to do that. Nope,
No.
Nope, I'm not certified. Nope,
No.
can't do
Right.
it.
Okay.
It would the USGS and any other datum agency would not accept it.
Okay. Right. Well,
And
I'm a
this is the whole point.
carer
And-
with a
and here's-
certificate,
and
right? And
here's-
I'm not able
yeah.
to do that either, Sean.
Yeah. Why?
Right.
Because it wasn't the branch of surveying that you were certified for.
No,
So
I'm a
who
carer,
does those
Sean.
if then? So that's the reality of it. Geodetic surveyors are the ones certified to be able to plot those points. You, who has
Set them with
surveying,
the concrete.
is
Do
not
they
certified
mix
to
the
do so.
concrete and everything?
Yeah, you can go beyond whatever we're talking about for the fun of it, whatever. But the reality of it is that means that that there is a difference between plane surveying and geodetic surveying. Your certificate is for plane surveying. You
And the
are not
geodetic
qualified
surveyors
to set
get to put concrete
Yeah, they-
brass
They're,
plates
no,
on.
they're the ones who.
trig
They're the ones
points.
who. Yeah, that's what was talked about. Setting concrete, Bev. But
Mm-hmm.
I can see where this is going, and I think I've got more than enough. Thank you. But it is very clear that it is not just everyone's just not one type of surveyor. There are branches of surveying,
Yeah,
and one of
everybody's
them
different,
is
Sean.
geodetic
There-
surveying.
yeah,
And one,
yeah.
and one,
There are different
one
people with different
branch-
jobs.
one
Yes.
branch of surveying
Yes.
is called geodetic surveying. One branch is called plane surveying, and there are others.
Yeah,
but
there's
the
quantity
two we're talking about.
surveying.
But yeah,
Shit
exactly.
surveying.
So are you now willing to admit that geodetic surveying is a thing?
Are you willing to admit that Jesse Kozlowski's a lying bag of shite
I
that's
don't give
done
a
a
fuck
runner?
about Jesse
I know,
Kozlowski.
I know.
I don't
But
care
you
about
can't
him.
prove
His
that what he said
qualifications
either. You
is-
can't defend what he says.
I don't listen to anything he says. What are you talking about? That's
yeah,
why
and
I
I
keep
wouldn't
saying I don't
listen
care
to
what they
anything
said.
he says either. Yeah,
Okay, well,
He
that's
just
the best
doesn't
part
have
because
talk some
I've already
shit.
established that
Mhm.
I don't care about them.
I know.
You keep bringing them up as if I said I did, and then
Well, you're
the
part of their
conversation
team, aren't you?
oh no, absolutely not. I give a fuck less
No,
about
I
any of
wouldn't be
them.
part of their team either.
So,
That's
like I
it,
said,
ditch them.
There is a difference
Keep away
between
from them.
geodetic surveying and a difference between plane surveying.
Yeah.
And we've now established that.
Yeah.
Especially because you're not
Which-
certified to do
which-
geodetic surveying.
And you're not certified to do geodetic surveying either.
You're right, Bev. I
Okay.
never said I was.
And you're not certified to do plane surveying either, are you?
No, I don't. I don't go out
You're
and do
not
jobs like that.
certified to do any surveying
You're
either.
right. You are
And
right.
you've not done
We're
any certificates and got any
now the best
certificates for
part-
surveying at
Yeah,
all.
you're right.
Have you?
And now the best part is I've said this, and name one time I've ever said I was.
Mm-hmm.
Name one.
So you have no qualifications in surveying. You have not a
Yeah, I know
geodetic
what-
surveyor.
That's the funny
You
part.
are not.
You're
a,
certified, and you walk around acting as if you know this stuff. Yet you denied already about it.
I'm not.
45
Who,
minutes.
who
or
said
for
I'm
the past
certified?
2
Did you say?
hours,
Did I
you
say?
did. You
saying I'm
you said you had a
certified?
certificate.
I've got a certificate. Yeah.
Yeah, in that certificate say that you are certified to
It says
be,
I
to do
have.
surveying.
It says land surveying.
And are you then qualified to do land surveying?
Well, it's got a land. I've said it's a land surveying certificate.
Okay. Are you qualified to do geodetic surveying?
I've got an auto level.
Are you qualified to do geodetic surveying?
What would you call geodetic surveying?
We've already gone over this. It's
Is
pretty
that
simple.
laying concrete monuments for the trig points?
it's
And
setting
I've never,
points, and then
nobody's
they
ever
do
asked
that.
me to do that as yet, because
That's
like I
funny.
say,
You know
I'm a
what?
carer.
It's very clear that you're avoiding answering because you know, and this is why the whole time we've had this conversation, I think I've even DM'd you saying exactly this, that you know that what you're saying is crap, and you like to work
You
around
know,
it
no,
so that
that's
it
what you
sounds like
said.
you know what
You
you're talking
said when
about it.
you sent me
Yeah,
the
no, yeah,
DM,
I said that.
you
I said
said
that to you.
that
Yeah,
you
yeah, I
said
did.
you were talking shit, and you know it.
Oh, wait,
Uh,
I can reread it if you want me, Bev. I can
yeah,
literally. I just said exactly what it was.
that you were
I've
talking
said in a
shite.
DM that
Yeah,
I know you're full of shit,
yeah,
and
but
that you
that's what
know
we
that the
do.
things you're
We
saying
we
are crap.
know that whenever you do that, you're talking about yourself.
You want me to read it?
Yeah,
I can read it. I
but
can do
as
it
though you're
again.
talking about yourself, right?
No, I'm
Just
talking
totally.
about yourself
Yeah,
because in
you're
my
talking about
situation,
yeah.
I have never once said that I was certified. I never
I've
once said
never
I was a
once said that
geodetic
I'm
surveyor.
certified. I've said I've got a certificate
Do you have
on the wall.
what does that certificate say? What
Land
does that mean?
surveying,
What
grade.
does it mean? To do
Well,
what? Surveying,
it's
correct?
just a certificate,
So
land
better
surveying
yet,
certificate.
if Bev, if you decided one day I'm going to get into the profession of surveying, you
I
need that
wouldn't do
certificate
that.
to become a licensed surveyor,
No,
correct? No,
no,
no. Okay,
no, no. It's just a
okay.
certificate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So then what you're saying is that you really aren't qualified. You
I've
just
got
have
a
a certificate.
certificate. I'm saying I've been to college to
Okay.
study this sort of stuff. Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
got a certificate for it to
Okay. So
prove
what would you
that I
need?
have
So what
been to
would you need?
college to do it.
So
Yeah.
okay. So what would you need to become a licensed surveyor?
Oh, I'd need to go back to college and do loads more work,
Okay, but essentially, okay, what would you
or
need to if
university, or
you
wherever. I mean,
when you
I don't know
right
what
when
it
you got out of
entails
college,
nowadays.
right after you got your certificate, would you have needed that to become a licensed surveyor?
I went teaching.
No, no, I didn't say teaching. I said a
If
licensed
if
surveyor.
I'd have gone, if I'd have chosen to have gone into surveying, that I'd have gone into the surveying, right? And I'd have just carried on with the surveying. But I didn't. I went to teaching. So, I
You
don't
went
know
to
what.
teaching. Okay,
Yeah, I forgot
okay,
about
but
the
no, no, no.
that
Yeah, I know.
qualification. Yeah, yeah.
I understand that there's been a large gap in between when you got the certification and now. I get that, and
Yeah,
there'd
yeah.
be you'd have to go back. I understand that completely.
Yep.
When you got that certificate, way back when,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was,
Yep.
would that have been what you would have used to become a licensed surveyor?
No, no, that would have been like one of the certificates that you use to get into whatever you want to get into, right?
Yeah, well,
I
yeah,
just
you can go.
chose to get
Yeah,
all of the
you can use.
certificates that I
You
got
can,
from all of the jobs and
yeah,
everything
you
to
can,
get
yeah.
me
If you
into the
wanted to go work,
teaching.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, if you wanted to work for a surveying company, you would most likely a person would use that certificate to say, "Hey, I went to college for it. I know what I'm talking about, and I can do this job." Yes,
Well,
that's
no,
also the
yeah,
same thing.
I know something about it
Yeah.
because here's a
Okay.
certificate to show that I
Yeah.
have done
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. Okay. That's
How
then we're
many
established. It's
how
perfectly
many
fine.
other people do you know that do have certificates for
That are
surveying?
uh, probably every owner of a company, every single one.
A company owner.
Yeah, yeah. The person who establishes a license under a name, who bids for jobs, all
Okay.
these people would be qualified and have references to show they're qualified
Yeah.
to do that job. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
So
not like it's not like all these companies are just Joe Schmoes who decide to do it and have no schooling behind it.
what about in this arena though? How many people do you know? I mean, like not you, and we know
No, I
George
don't.
hasn't got one, and
As
we
far as I'm
definitely know
concerned,
Rumpus hasn't got one.
as far as I'm concerned, nobody because I haven't met any of them.
Me,
Anyone, like I said, anyone in this community in this conversation,
yeah.
I don't give a fridge about. They're not my concern. I can care. I don't know any of them. I don't care what they do for a living. I don't care what they think. I don't care if they think there's a hump. I don't care about any of that.
Okay,
When
so
I
as
have a
far as
conversation with
we
somebody,
know, that
when I have a
I'm the
conversation,
only one that's actually been to college to do any of this sort of stuff, right?
okay, so have you asked Jesse for his certification?
No.
Okay, so then for you to say he's not is just speculation.
Well, yeah, I've seen what he
Okay.
does. And
but
I've
at
also
the same,
heard him say that the water level drops from the horizontal.
Rikia, that's a contractor's license, right? I'm sorry, he typed something. I was asking him. Um, okay, but I have no idea what this is even going anymore. I think we pretty much got both
Well,
our points across.
I'll tell you
So
where it was going, right? Jesse
I'm going
Kozlowski
to.
has said that,
Mhm.
and that's why he isn't around here anymore. Because
Or
he
maybe he just
said
got bored.
something that's impossible can be measured. He said that. He said it can be
Have you shown
measured.
that have you shown it's impossible? Have you shown it's not there?
Yeah, level
Or
is
you just
horizontal.
are you just speculating that there isn't?
No, level is horizontal.
Okay. Have you verified this or are you speculating?
Yes, level is
Yes.
horizontal. Yes.
So are you
Plane
have you
surveyors
verified
even
it,
go
or
over
are you
260 square
okay?
kilometers.
Now you're just saying shit I told you. Okay.
Yeah, well,
Are
it's
you
because you've told
saying
us it. They assume
yeah,
a flat plane, don't they? Plane
a
surveyors.
plane surveyor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. But we also talked about geodetic
So
surveying.
that might be
in the
why.
beginning.
That might
In
be
the
why
beginning-
when we checked that level is horizontal, it was, but we were within that 260
you're-
square
okay.
kilometers. So
Then-
that might be
so
why
then
the level
maybe-
is horizontal
Yeah.
in
maybe
that area.
maybe
right?
what I asked you to do was beyond your scope of knowledge then. And then you chose not to do it because that's not what you learned and that's not what you wanted to understand. There's a difference between it.
We've already done the
if you
test,
don't want to go,
Sean.
No, you did
Yeah,
it
we
very
have. We've
crude-
already done it.
You did a crude
And-
test. That's the funny part. You did a water level and eyeballed it. If
No,
you want
we've
to go beyond
Sean,
that, that's
stop
on you. Go
telling
ahead,
us what
it's fine.
we've done. We've already
you just
done the
said-
test. We have.
Okay. We've
Right,
gone through this
and
too,
that
though.
was before you've just decided to tell us that you've advised us to do something, but you haven't got any qualifications in this.
And yet I still know more about it than you then.
How do you know
explain
that?
to me how that works. Because I obviously if you don't understand that there's a difference between geodetic surveying and plane surveying, there's a problem. If you don't understand
You
there
can't
is
tell us
there
what the
is
difference is.
really, because I've read it off at least 3 times now. The
Yeah, I
difference
know.
between
You've
the
just
two.
said scope,
No, I didn't.
distance.
I literally read it.
You
So,
do
Bev,
it
you're telling
loads
me-
of times
Bev,
until you get
you
further,
telling-
and then you can
You're
call us
telling
a
me
geodetic surveyor.
I
once you
didn't
get
read
a bit
off
further.
from a site that explicitly explained the difference between the two. I didn't do that twice now.
Well, one of
No.
them doesn't seem to use any tools,
Okay.
just GPS.
If that's what you got from it, that's fine.
Yeah.
The main point of me doing this is so that people can hear it themselves, and I think I've got enough. So until next time, Bev, you have a good one. Buster, I love you to death, man. Whether you're never a real dick, you're just Buster, and I like that.
Do you
I
want
like
to
you a
say
lot.
sorry
You're
to
cool
the
as fuck.
surveyors?
All the surveyors that are listening right now, suck a dick. I'm not on your team. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. Yeah, that's the reality of it, Dev. I mean, realistically, like you keep saying these team things. First of all, I can give a shit less about George. George is annoying as fuck. Anything Bob does is annoying as fuck. All he does is promote his shit, and he sounds stupid doing it. It's the reality of it. Jesse, I maybe talked to him one time, but it was no further than just regular conversation. So I've got nothing from him. I don't even listen. I've never watched a Jesse Karslowski upload. I've never watched a Bob upload. I've watched about 5 minutes of George's, but then his voice gets like really weird, and it makes my ears hurt. So yeah, I don't do that. I'm not on a team.
Not
I don't
for
care
any
what they say
surveyor.
or
I
how they
wouldn't
think.
listen to any of those anyway. That wouldn't help you.
But I should listen to you though.
No, don't listen to me either.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to establish.
Go and
'cause
get your own proof, mate. Go for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said,
Good luck.
when it comes to Redman, when it comes to the test, again, I got real world shit going on, and it's not. I don't have time to do this every day anymore. I did this for 4.5 years, every single day. I think I deserve some time not to be here if I don't want to be.
You did.
And
what?
again,
What did you do for 4
and
years?
the best part is
While you're on the way out,
and the best
while
part
you're
is
on the way out the
Bev,
door,
and
I'm
the
gonna
best
go ahead and
part
say
is,
this:
and the best part is
you would never do the test.
okay.
And that's all I'm gonna say. You have a great night.
Yeah, you too. You too, buddy. Bev, again, whether you're calling me a dickhead or not, I like you too. You're fun to talk to. You're
Four
not
years of what, Sean?
live streaming this whole back and forth conversation about whether or not there's curvature and all that crap. It's just boring. It gets boring. Like
Yeah,
I've been doing this. I've been on this voice chat with you for about what 2.5 hours, 2 hours now,
yeah,
and literally, I probably will leave Discord for another month or so.
yeah.
That's how much. Like it's just is just not important to me. It's really fucking not.
This was your choice, though, Sean.
Yeah, to come in here. Oh
No,
yeah,
yeah, no. I
absolutely.
mean, the conversation that we just had.
We just had.
That's where you took us.
Oh yeah. I chose to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
100%. You didn't force me to. No, not at all. I do everything on my being like what I want to do.
Yeah.
If an hour ago I decided to just stop talking, I would have stopped talking.
Fascinating the
I
way you
enjoyed
took
having these
us.
conversations. It's fun sometimes.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's fascinating where you took us. Showed us what
I guess
you've
so.
got on your mind.
Yeah, it's just sometimes I just want to just get it out, right?
Yeah. I know. It's like an obsession with some people, isn't it?
It is, and I feel, and a lot of that is why I just disappear because it just not worth it. I think if you do it just every single day and it's the only thing you do, you got an issue, and I know that because I had an issue. It's not normal to do this shit. It's not normal to spend all day doing this. It's not at all.
No.
And with that being said, I'm gonna get the hell off here now, and do real life stuff. So,
Okay, okay.
Bev, Buster, even Redman, you guys have a good night. I did appreciate the back and forth. It is fun.
Yeah, man.
That
Have a
that's
great
pretty
New
much
Year.
what it was for me. You too, sir.
See you later. Have fun. Drop by any time. Wow.
I've got a new quote for myself.
Go on.
Acceptance of false information will lead one into confusion.
Mm.
How did he come in?
On his own.
Yeah.
Very cordial.
What was what did he start off with?
Mm,
God, it was a long way off.
man.
But, I mean, he wanted to take it into. We did go over all of the things and the test and like the water level with the hump and it horizontal. It was horizontal at times.
Well, he agreed that if you were to use a tool, like he was like you went through the 2-peg test,
Yeah.
full on board, agreed every step of the way, and then if you went multiple steps, multiple setups, he even said he agreed that the horizontals would be parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like it at that point, and then like as soon as he said it, that was the bit that he went funny.
Yeah.
He went a little bit weird straight after he said that.
But I tried in the beginning to tell him like whatever information you've accepted, that's the filter you're gonna, or that's what you're gonna how you're gonna filter your information through, whatever you've accepted.
Yeah.
He didn't get it, but maybe he'll think about it later.
I doubt it. I seriously doubt it.
Probably not, but
But I mean, it seemed like he was recording something. He seemed like he would be happy with the recording it or whatever.
that's fine. But
3 hours.
his acceptance of false information, that picture I posted was his drawing.
Yeah.
So if you've accepted false information, that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's the horizontal, and those boxes are the water levels. And then when you set up to the water level at the end, that's the information he's accepted. That's how he filters it.
It is fantastic the way he was doing that, because how can you have somebody over a great distance curving and then short distance, not.
It was amazing when he read that because what he read about planar surveying encompassed all of surveying. Then when he
Yeah.
got the geodetic,
There's nothing left.
nothing.
Just
Nothing.
GPS.
Yeah, that GPS only can exist because of first order measurement.
Yeah.
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 Somewhere in there, he also said that the longer or greater distance measurements were more accurate.
That's patent.
I asked him that in chat, but he didn't
He
respond
only
to it.
looked at certain things in chat.
You know why I said that? I read the same thing just a while ago. If you Google it, you're gonna see it says exactly that.
Yeah, that's why I was asking what at universities. Because if you go and study surveying, there is no plane surveying and geodetic surveying. There's literally no difference. It's the same thing. It's just surveying. You get in your van and you'll go and do surveying.
Yeah, but if you Google it, it literally says, listen to this, it's
I know it has
unbelievable.
to.
One says literally that they consider the Earth to be a flat surface.
Yeah.
That's the plane. If you enjoyed the content, please support On the Level and future projects. Membership subscriptions available now, or come and get involved at Next Level Discord server. Thank you.